East Politics Local, New Jersey and the world's number one hip-hop political show in the world. This is Overseer Pastor Naseed Ali, and it's just good to be here, waiting on my colleagues, and so glad to have Jonathan Austin in the place, and Ed Riley, our producer, in the place, and Baba Zaid Muhammad in the place. Just glad to see that everybody is alive and kicking.
That's
so
right.
You can tell by my voice, I got my shot. So I'm a little flighty and a little strained, but we're going to work it out. He promised me if I open my mouth, he would allow the words to speak for me. And we see Baba even got the cat. So we say hello to the kitty cat also.
That's right.
You work for the Black Panther Party, then you work down. This dude is a trip. This is Nas.
Well, we welcome you tonight into the Disciples. And
yes,
wait for my colleagues to come in. But how's everybody doing? What's good?
We're all good. We're all good. We're all good.
You said the right word. You said kicking. As long as there's still kicking, I'm all right. And I kick. I like to kick.
You and your cat kicking. Your cat's kicking too, man.
This dude is a trip.
That's a mighty big cat you got there.
So Ed, say, hey, man.
Well, what's good, John? What's good, Brother Ali? What's good, Zaid?
Streets are getting hot again.
Hey, John, I was looking at the lineup for tonight's show, man. So why don't you just give them the lineup? Of course, we know the Disciples is going to be first. And then after that, man, I saw, you got some pretty exciting stuff going on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's going to be a good night. It's going to be an exciting night. We have at 6 o'clock, is the Disciples. And we know that, if it's the fourth Friday, then it is the Disciples. We start off there. And then we have former Mayor Sharpe James, who will be on in the 7 o'clock hour. So we're going to be talking about, his run for office and a lot of history, because, we love our history on All Politics Are Local. And then at 8 o'clock, Zaid really got in touch with the aunt and uncle of the young man who was accosted in Bridgewater. And so that we're going to be having a conversation with his aunt and uncle about what happened within that situation in Bridgewater with the Bridgewater police, where they, accosted their son, their niece and nephew, their nephew in a fight, where the white person who was involved sat him on the couch, made sure he was okay. Probably would have gotten him some milk and cookies, if they could, right?
Took him to McDonald's.
Right,
you can't make this stuff up.
Right. And then at 8:25, we're gonna have Naseed Gifted on the Black Nerds Expo, which is cool because he's a writer. Naseed Gifted is a writer, comic book creator, and so and really an organizer of Black comic art. He's been doing that for a while, and we'll have a conversation with him before we end up with DJ Rhino and the state of hip hop. So it's going to be a full night tonight.
Well, it sounds good. I mean, I tell you, that's with the Bridgewater case and stuff like that. It's getting more difficult to be open-minded these days. It's becoming more difficult to keep a clear thought these days. It's becoming more difficult to be optimistic these days when we see wars and rumors of wars, when we see different type of weather conditions in many diverse places, even with the weather we dealt with today, ice, rain. My basement is flooded now, so pumping water out of there and everything. There's just always something. So can't always be open-minded, can't always be optimistic, but one thing I can remain is hopeful and keep the faith. And that means I'll hang on in there. So I see our leader, Minister Haqq Muhammad, is on, and I see my other colleague is on, the Reverend Louise Scott-Rountree. So I'm going to let them speak in, turn it over to my fearless leader, Minister Haqq Muhammad. All in your hands, my brother.
Man, thank you, brother Pastor Ali. Thank you, brother Ed. I get kind of cringy. I start hearing that leader term thrown around, But all praise is due to Allah. Thank you again, Pastor Ali. Thank you, brother Ed. Brother Zaid. I heard Brother John, giving his introduction as he normally do. Again, my name is Brother Abdul Haqq Muhammad. I'm the student minister of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for the Muhammad Mosque of Islam, number 25, which is located here in the city of Newark, New Jersey. As always, we like to open up in the name of God. So we always say in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. But once again, I'm here with my beloved and esteemed colleagues. They really need no introduction, but for the sake of the show, I'll let them introduce themselves.
Well, I'm overseeing Brian Ali, Senior Pastor of New Summers Worship Center, located in the city of Newark. And that's a long-term pastor, 28 plus years, long-term activist, and just glad to be a senior citizen that the young folks still allow me to come around and share some of this wisdom.
Yeah, you looking good though, brother. You looking good.
Yes, sir. That's right. Is Reverend Roundtree on? I see it like her screen is loading.
Yeah, I think she's having a little trouble uploading.
Yeah, she buffering.
Oh, I think she's buffering.
She's always in the field. Give it to my little
right.
sister. She's always in the field.
She probably somewhere that doesn't have good service.
Right.
Knowing Reverend Roundtree, she probably somewhere that doesn't have good service. Brother Ed, is DJ Rhino on?
I spoke to him earlier, man, and I told him that you wanted to have him on in reference to talk to him. So I told him to reach out to you. Did he reach out to you?
Nah, he didn't. I didn't. He didn't, dear brother.
Hey John, if you're in the background and you can hear, why don't you reach out to Rhino, see if he's available to come on and get involved in this conversation in the beginning with Brother Haqq.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
There he is.
There she goes.
There she goes.
There's the queen.
There's the redhead beauty.
Wait a minute, I got two phones on now. I got to take one of these devices off because it wouldn't come on the one I wanted to use. So let me leave the show. Take me out of it. Oh no, you can't.
You're all right now.
Stay with the one we can see
You're
right
now.
now.
You're fine right now.
Oh, you're
Right
good.
now.
Right now, you're good. You're perfect. Sound's coming through great.
Let me see. Am I upside down?
Yep, you sideways.
Well,
I'm not
All
trying.
right, you better start messing with it.
You were doing all right.
Yeah, you were all in.
All right, I'm here. I'm here.
There you go.
Stay right there.
This
Stay right
device,
there.
this device, I got to use. I don't have a holder for it. The other, but that's all right. Let's go. Let's go. The show is we 8 minutes in. We only got 52 minutes left. And Rhino gonna be like, okay, it's over. Jonathan gonna be like, shut it down.
That's right. That's right.
No, go ahead, Reverend Roundtree. I introduced myself as always, so that Pastor Ali, it's on you. Not that.
Good evening. Welcome to All Politics Are Local. Lord, the number one political hip hop. Yes, good evening, everyone. This is Reverend Louise Scott-Rountree, Associate Minister at the Good Neighbor Baptist Church and Chair and Founder of the Newark Interfaith Alliance. And it is so good to see Minister Abdul Haqq Muhammad, our leader, our host, the host of the most. Yes, and my big brother, Pastor Bryant Ali. But we know that this weekend is Savior's Day. So let me fall back so Minister Abdul Haqq Muhammad can take this show on the road. It's back in your hands, Minister Abdul Haqq Muhammad.
Thank you so much, Reverend Roundtree. Pastor Ali, we spoke earlier via text about our topics of discussion. Everybody agreed. I don't know how many of us are aware of drill music. I just thought this was an apropos discussion. It has been in the news as of late, particularly New York City. Mayor Eric Adams had a press conference. He talked about it, how he wasn't familiar with drill music. His son sent him a few videos and kind of familiarized him with it. And he said he was appalled at what he was looking at, what he was hearing, what he was seeing. And then he began to talk about how he wanted to not so much ban drill music. That's what the media was saying, that he wanted to ban drill music. He had to come back out and say, no, I don't want to ban drill music, but I do think it's some things in drill music that we need to discuss and have conversations around in terms of the antagonism, killing of other individuals and antagonizing them and making mockery of people that you have murdered. The guns that's being shown in the video. So, it had a ripple effect in the hip hop community. Some rappers came together, 5-0 Foreign, Mano, some other drill rappers out of New York City. Not that Mano is a drill rapper, but they came and met with Eric Adams. They had some discussion. I haven't heard the update of the discussion that they had, but it's been in the news. And what prompted Eric Adams to have the particular press conference is because two quote unquote drill rappers were killed in New York City. I mean, not too far in between with each other. It made headlines. And also in Hip Hop Universe on March 3rd of 2021, they released an article entitled 200 Rappers Who Died in 2022. Have you all heard of that article?
Man, that's a lot.
No, I'm not familiar with it. Enlighten me.
That's a big number.
Yeah, it came out, Hip Hop Universe, 200 rappers who died in 2022. And this came out March 3rd, 2021. It was floating around the internet for a brief period. People were talking about it maybe a few months back. And it said in 2022, hip-hop community suffered the loss of over 200 rappers across the world. Hip Hop Universe recently posted this lengthy and tragic clip that really highlights how severely gun violence is plaguing the hip-hop community. It talked about, and there was a video that they put together showing images of all of the rappers that had been killed. We know of the more popular ones: King Von, Pop Smoke, Extension, Nipsey Hussle, Young Dolph. We know the more popular ones, but this particular video was highlighting an article talking about over 200 rappers being killed, and they really said that there were more than the 200 that they showed that had been killed. So the discussion that has been brewing, that have come out of this, is drill music to blame for the violence that we see in the hip hop community and the black community in general. Is drill music? That's a discussion that has been taking place on social media. My son had a live about it. China Mac, another artist, Shabazz the OG. Some social media influencers also have been addressing this particular topic and discussion, particularly after Eric Adams came out, had the press conference, met with these quote unquote drill rappers. So it has been a very, it has been a very serious topic that people have been talking about, particularly the younger generation, talking about drill music. Now, one of the things that Eric Adams proposed was holding some of these social media conglomerates accountable. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And he made a mention that we can ban Trump from Twitter.
I saw that. I'm looking at it now.
Ban and stop, these artists who are mocking and antagonizing people that they have killed or that they know were killed. So he brought that up in the press conference. But again, he said that his words were misconstrued. He's not trying to ban drill music, but he wanted to get a handle on the drill music. So, what our thoughts on? I know that was a lengthy intro. I had to lay, Ed, I had to lay a foundation.
Yep.
I had to lay the foundation. I can't
Right
assume
exact,
that
son.
everybody
Right
in the listening audience is aware and knows. So I just had to lay a foundation as best I can, because even though it has resurfaced with the press conference of Eric Adams, this topic has been brewing on social media for quite some time now, particularly after the killing of Young Dolph. So it's been talked about, Pop Smoke, and it really started with Nipsey Hussle. And before that, we know the whole Tupac Biggie situation.
But now, Haqq, let me ask you a question. For the audience that don't know, what is drill music? What is that?
Well, according to what I've read, my research, and people in the audience, those who are viewing, could correct me if I'm wrong, drill music is a type of music that was originated and came out of Chicago. They say around the 2010 time, it was popularized by Chief Keef. You see Lil Durk, King Von, a lot of the Chicago rappers, who have become, very popular with this style of music. It's in the New York scene. Philadelphia now is participating. I mean, all over the country, it has taken the country by storm, this type of drill music and drill rap. So, yeah, I mean, it's just another genre in the genre of rap, and it's not too different from what we have always been accustomed to in terms of hip hop. talking about drugs, guns, women. I mean, it's the same type of thing, but now you have more conflict as it relates to those artists who are the drill musicians. And that's what some of the drill artists are taking issue with Eric Adams, or not so much issue with. They saying that all drill music is not the same. That all drill music is not talking about the same topics. They don't want to be, broad stroked. So
they don't want to be pigeonholed into one corner or one category.
right.
Hip hop is having its first generational divide with this discussion. I want y'all to appreciate that, right? We had this conversation when the emergence of gangster rap,
I was going to
right, in
say,
the early '90s, right? And we a generation. This is a generation ahead, and look at what we're talking about. I just want y'all to appreciate how history moves, even within the bellwether that is hip hop, hip hop.
Zaid, I was going to ask you, what is the difference between this conversation and the conversation with Calvin Butts and C. Dolores Tucker when they were talking about gangster rap, right? Like, what is the difference between the types of fears that they had of music glorifying death and quote gangsterism that came out right after a lot of the nation conscious hip hop, right? Like that was popularized in Los Angeles by like NWA, right? Like who Ice Cube now makes family movies, right? But before, NWA was known as being like
That's right.
like gangster rap, right? In terms of drug war, etc. Is there a difference between the conversation that C. Dolores Tucker was having, right, and Calvin Butts was having? It's like you are advocating the genocide of our people, and the conversations against drill now, like Chief Keef, I believe he bragged about. He puts out an album and black men are going to die, right? I think that is there a difference between the previous generation of conversation and this conversation right now?
Well, I mean, it may be too early to tell because it looks like this conversation is just really becoming engaged, in my modest judgment, and it needs to happen. It clearly needs to happen with this kind of background. It clearly needs to happen. I actually don't think there's any real substantive difference, right? I'm glad these young brothers are saying that they don't want to be caught up in the broad stroke where they're one dimensional. And the thing that I appreciate is the hidden hands in the industry that's all right with something like this. The thing that we want to appreciate is this, right? The push of gangster rap back then was to knock off the golden age. The golden age of hip hop was when we had the conscious hip hop rocking from all sides, and it was a very different kind of rhythm that was coming from the movement, from the music, from our young folks back then, right? So that is not as much in the mix as it was back then. So that may be the one difference that I see. But I think it's as important more than anything to have the conversation, right? To have these young rappers, talking and thinking consciously about what they're doing and where this stuff can go if they're not mindful of what they're doing and not be pawns in a game where we're all getting knocked off.
Well, I think it comes with a sense of maturity also. As you grow older, if you mature, if you grow, then your conversation change. Like Ice Cube going from gangster rap to family music and family movies now. And I think when you realize death, the pain of death, and when you lose those that are close to you, your concept of death change over time, especially for us as ministers who always have to speak to death. As negative as it is,
go tell it on the mountain. Go tell it on the mountain, beloved.
To a grieving family. So when you look at it in that aspect and a growing point, and then you look at geniuses that have been wiped out, Tupac, still talking about him. Biggie Smalls, still talking about him. Jam Master Jay, still talking about him. So many that have fell victims to violence. But you realize that you cut off such geniuses, such, how can I put it? Even though their rap may not always seem to be a good conversation, but their ability and their talent and what they fought to get out of, only to die at the hand of a bullet after they have arrived.
And
I want to
think
chime in
that's
on
the
that too when
difference.
you get a moment when I can.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna let you go, Reverend. I just want to add this piece to it because what has been a major concern, and I will say that it is dying down. It has died down, but a major concern with the drill music was the antagonism and the mocking of people who have been murdered. See, that was a very it's a very important aspect, or it has been a very important aspect of the drill culture to mock, to make fun of those that have been murdered, wearing them on t-shirts. You have some videos, they were going to their graves. I mean, where it got to the point where the mothers of individuals who had been murdered were crying out and saying, listen, I understand you maybe had an issue with my son, but if nothing else, could you stop making mockery of my son? Could you stop, speaking his name, where names of individuals who had been murdered were becoming popularized?
Wow.
Because now people that had been murdered, they were branding them as a form of weed, smoking on this individual, smoking on, like if you kill somebody, then you would name the brand of weed that you're smoking after him to reflect, look, we killed him, now we're smoking on him. So that's a major aspect of the drill culture. It was a very troublesome aspect, but it is dying down because there has been a lot of outcry, concern, even from the streets. Like, that's kind of taking it too far, but that is dying down now. I would say you don't hear it as much. Many of those who have popularized that style of drill themselves came out. Lil Durk, Julio Fulio from Jacksonville, Chief Keef. Nah, we're not going. We're gonna stop that type of music. Talking about people that have been killed, even though they were our quote unquote ops or our enemies. We're not going to rap about them being murdered anymore. So it is kind of dying down in the genre.
Wow.
Go ahead, Reverend Roundtree.
Wow. You're muted, Queen.
This drill music, which is dark and we can name anything that's dark after drill music based on, as Minister Abdul Haqq just stated, these people have families. And when you start talking about, I'm just going to go back because you were talking about Ice Cube and some of the other rap artists that have now changed their music. I don't think that it was just based on their success or what I think is these people have children of their own now. JC's bringing up a daughter and a set of twins. Ice Cube has children, and we always want more for our children or better for our children than we have for ourselves. So I would attribute not just the change of the music because it was the right thing to do, because it definitely was the right thing to do. Speaking drugs, pills, alcohol. I mean, you pour this poison death into our young people that are coming along this generation or the generation prior to. And I've heard the mayor often say it. If you're talking about drugs, sex, and money, people start thinking that that's normal. The young people think that that's normal. That's the music they should be listening to. They don't know anything about the Whispers, Dr. Ali, or the OJs, or some of the people that made music that you actually knew what they were saying. These people have actually made heroes, sir, out of people who are singing death to our young generation. But when we talk about Ice Cube and those like Ice-T that are making commercials for a car right now, and Snoop that just had his first or second grandchild, I'm not sure. I believe some of this turnaround has a lot to do with they have children that they're bringing up of their own. And do they want that for their children? Is that the this drill music is another generation, but is that what these? So I would believe that they are the rappers that are fighting against the drill music and the messages that come through. Minister Abdul Haq, there's nothing worse than seeing a mother cry when we go to a scene, and you've been with me,
Make it
and
plain.
someone
Make it plain.
knows someone that shot the person or killed the person shows up.
Now,
Let
can I
alone
add this? I want to add this too, because let me just go with some scripture real quick. Ecclesiastes 7:5 says, "It is better to hear the rebuke of a wise man than for a man to hear the song of fools." But I
Yes,
just wanted to add that in there.
that's
But let
good.
me
That's
say
good.
this. But let me say this.
Go ahead, drop it, son. Drop
No,
it.
because I'm happy. No, I'm happy you mentioned the whispers and the blue notes. I'm happy because part of the discussion, Brother Ed, Brother John, Pastor Ali, is that is drill music responsible for a lot of the murder, the mayhem that we've been seeing? You know, crime all over the country. It has risen. Philadelphia, New York, many of these other cities. But statistically, in the data, because according to what the data say, and you will look this up, they say that in 19 now what was going on? What kind of music was we listening to in 1974?
Oh, we can go back further than that. What was Cain and
No.
Abel?
But
What was Cain and Abel listening to?
no.
What was Moses listening to?
I want to ask because
Well, we was listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire.
in 1974, according to what the records say, that there was over 970 murders in Chicago. Now,
Not
the
the
drill music started allegedly in Chicago. And the data say, because they're asking, is the drill music responsible for the mayhem, the chaos that we are seeing in cities like Chicago, Philadelphia, New York? So when you do a comparative analysis, there was no drill music in 1970.
None.
I mean, in 1974, we was listening to the whispers, Earth, Wind, and Keys.
That's right.
Your hand
to the sky.
We listening to
That's
that,
right.
bro. Ed, Pastor Ali.
Love
Yes,
is the
sir.
message.
Getting it in.
But yet there was 970 murders in Chicago, which they say was one of the deadliest years in terms of black-on-black violence in Chicago.
That's right.
So we can't say, it's the drill music again.
Oh, somebody put up the music. All right.
Yeah, we can't, because murder and quote-unquote black-on-black crime and the evil that we've been doing, this has been going on for a very long time. And I think that the music is just a manifestation. It's the effect of a cause that many of the young people who are participating in it,
absolutely,
they have nothing to do with. The projects was here before they got here.
That's right.
The abandoned buildings was here before they got here. And I'm not making an excuse, because every deed has a consequence. You reap what you sow. The law of justice says, according to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan, justice wakes up with you and lie down with you. So you got to reap the recompense of what you put out. So I'm not saying this to absolve our young people or to scapegoat them, no. But again, we can't unfairly place blame
on the music
generation who are victims.
Right.
And again, I'm not
inherited
saying,
these material conditions.
I'm not saying they don't have responsibility, Brother Ed, Pastor Ali, Roundtree, for the.
They didn't create these material conditions.
Yeah,
they inherited them. They were born
absolutely.
into them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just saying that to now, is it drill? Is the drill rappers responsible? No, because when you look back, this didn't start with them. This was happening, you understand, before many of these young men were born. Because they're really young, 21, 20 years old, 23 years old. The drill rappers are really young. Most of them are between the ages, I would just say, 25 and younger.
Yep.
So you can't say that the drill music is responsible. I just think, again, it's the manifestation of a problem
that's already existed.
Never was.
Well, it speaks to what's already existing.
It's already in existence. But
somebody put the stuff up there. This is what we listening to in the 70s.
I see Dancing Machine. I'm in love. Be thankful for what you got.
Feel like making love.
Rock the baby.
Haqq wasn't nowhere near being born back then.
Not at all.
Look at the impressions. Finally got myself together.
We need to stop it.
I'm a change.
Who put that up there, John? Who put that up there?
But Minister Haqq, you are 100% correct.
Material conditions. They call
When people
material
start
conditions.
talking about, and this is a little bit off, it's not, it's on the subject, but a little off. When people come to me and say, what are we going to do about the murder? You know, what can we do to bring them down? And I have to remind people, murder didn't just arrive. These conditions didn't just get here. And then I go back to what I just said. Murder, nobody was listening to music when Cain killed his brother. You know,
Right.
when Abel and Cain, Lord, I'm getting it all from
Go ahead,
nobody.
go ahead
right.
with that. Go
Nobody
ahead
was
with that.
listening to music
Go
when
ahead
Moses
with
was
that,
trying to
Queen.
escape being a slave and he murdered. Yeah, I'm just saying that
Right.
murder has been around, but and I'm glad that you said that because that really helped me a little bit better in my response because we hear things, and if we hear it enough, they say if you throw enough stuff on the wall, some of it's going to stick. Kids hearing certain things or associating with certain people or their conditions will probably have a lot to do with why they did it, but now they're just doing it in a different way, sir. And
Oh,
whether it's the
yeah,
music,
I mean,
whether it's the mindset, whether it's the conditions, our young people, young, I'm talking about people that Ali and I know that have taken something the night before, killed someone, and don't even remember while they're sitting in the youth house that they murdered somebody.
right. And I think part of what's
Conditions.
so troubling, I think what's so troubling is because we know the Biggie, Tupac, we know of that, and that definitely was
That's on a
a
big scale.
scourge or stain on hip hop. But many artists such as Jada Kiss, I mean, he made a statement. I'm paraphrasing. He was like, "Oh, we never seen this many prominent rappers being killed like
Taken
we
out.
see them being killed today." Yeah, I mean, rappers have always got into things, but it was so far in between. But now it's like,
There was
and
a
I'm
beef
talking
here
about
and there, but it
prominent.
wasn't like every month.
Yeah, I'm talking about. I'm not just talking about a local artist, because we
Right.
had a local artist here in the city of Newark who was brutally murdered. But we seeing prominent artists, Nipsey Hussle, Young
Nipsey
Dog. I
Hussle.
mean, prominent artists being killed and snuffed out like never before. You understand? So that's what's so troubling and so concerning about. It's something going on. It's something going around to social media. A lot of artists been saying, yo, being a rapper is one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. And I take issue with it, not because I'm just taking issue with it, but I just think contextually it's not right. Just being black, a black man is dangerous. So it don't matter if you're a bus driver, if you're a rapper, if you're a teacher, if you're a crossing guard, if you're a black man in America living in the conditions that we live in, it's just dangerous. So to just isolate it and say to be a rapper is the most dangerous in the world, I think is not true. Just to be a black man is dangerous, period, in America. You could work at a health food store, you could be a veteran, whatever you are. The life expectancy rate of black men in America, particularly young black men, is not good. We don't fare well. But we see many prominent artists being killed. And it definitely has been a point of concern, not just for the hip hop artists, but for their fans, those that love them, that something needs to be done to try to slow it down, reduce the number of artists that are being killed, that are being snuffed out, really young men in their prime, so that's
I'm looking at the numbers. I'm looking at these numbers, sir. I'm looking at these numbers. I just pulled it up between 19, well, it started in 87, but there was only like one or two. But there's 80 that were either shot, majority are shot and killed. There's maybe 4 that were stabbed to death, and 1 was beaten and shot. But none of these guys, with the exception of 1, never made it to 40. They're all under 30. And between October 29, 2018, and December 19th, you have like about 15 of the 78 that I'm looking at.
right.
None of them were 40.
And it's
It was
just
19,
reflective.
20, 21. Nipsey Hussle was the oldest. Well, no, Young Greatness was 34. Nipsey Hussle was 30, 33. But the rest of them were like 27. Oh, Young Dolph was 36. But the rest of them were like 20, 21. Oh my God.
Again, it's just reflective of what we see happening in the Black community and really all over the country every day. But these are celebrities, quote unquote. So it's a little more highlighted. You know, it's a little bit more in the media. It's a little bit more pronounced. But what's happening with the hip hop community is what our young Black men and women are facing in the Black community in general every day.
Yes, sir.
The possibility of being killed, being snuffed out, being shot, you in a conflict. You understand? So, you know, it's shedding more light on an issue that has existed for a very long time. We know many of you were around, Brother Ed, Zaid. Minister went on a tour, stopped the killing, the early 90s,
Mhm.
and that's what brought about the
Yes.
Million Man March. You know,
The
level
Million
of
Man
killing,
March.
yeah, the level of
Yes.
The
killing
Million
that
Man
we,
March.
yeah, the level of killing that we were seeing going on in LA and New York and the gang conflict, and that's what brought it about. And the minister said when he heard the music and how we were talking about F the police, and he like, man, we was losing it. And he knew that that type of language would be a trigger for those who had already traditionally oppressed and opposed us, to now it would be a justification for them to do what they had already did. You see that threatening us through their music. So, you know, and we see history just repeating itself, but now
There you
it
go.
seems like it's a little bit worse. So, you know, and we see history just repeating itself, but now it seems like it's a little bit worse. So, you know, and we see history just repeating itself, but
He had a
Reverb.
yeah. But he was making his point. He was making it plain. He was making it plain. And I think the difference is, just to add to what he was saying, and
There he
going
is.
back to your original
There
question,
he is.
Jonathan, the difference is that this generation has less of a foundation
That
than
is
our
The family
generation.
structure.
Yeah, right.
structure.
They're less of a foundation. So the conditions in that respect are
Yes,
worse.
sir.
Much
Yes,
worse.
sir.
Hawk's point.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
yeah. So
Is
you
it
know,
back in? Yeah, there you go. It sounds good. There you go.
yeah, it definitely been. I think what Eric Adams did, and I think, you know, many people were concerned about him banning drill music, and when he started calling out the social media conglomerates, YouTube, Facebook, you know, calling them to the carpet, making them responsible for, you know, playing a lot of this type of music. And I don't know if you all are familiar or aware, maybe a year or so ago, Dame Dash was on a podcast and he mentioned about one of his problems with YouTube. He said, I know personally that YouTube pays artists to make diss records and go back and forth with other artists. I know that personally. This is what Dame Dash was saying, according to him, that he knows that YouTube were fueling a lot of the beef
Right.
and attention that's going on with
Right.
artists by paying one to diss another artist. So there's always been a hidden hand, you know,
That
as
was
it
my earlier
relates to,
point. That's
yeah, the
right.
conflict and what we're doing. But you know, Eric Adams called them out, and I think by him being so strong on the point, it kind of forced some of these drill rappers to come to the table, because he was even talking about videos and not allowing videos to be done, and you know, in New York and other areas. So it definitely kind of got some people's attention and caused them to you know, hear what he was saying and want to come and meet. I haven't heard of the follow-up in terms of what they talked about and what they discussed. I guess it's an ongoing conversation that they're having, but you know, everybody, I think it's something we just need to keep our ears tuned to see how this is gonna come and, you know, work itself out. I pray God willing it do. I mean, you know.
And with the violence he got going on in New York, he's playing catch up. He's trying to get ahead of the 8 ball.
Yeah, we see that. I think New York was almost at 500 murders this year. Definitely a spike. you know, talking about Philadelphia, Indianapolis, many cities saw an increase in a spike in crime and homicides. One brother said to me, he said, out of all of the institutions that took a hit during COVID, during the pandemic, he said one of the things that we did not stop doing was killing each other, black men. It seemed like that became more pronounced during the pandemic.
Absolutely.
That, you know, us as black men, we begin to just continue, you know, the fratricide, you know, that many of us have been participating in for a long time. And we are not a monolith. We are not just violent. No, we got many black men and women who, you know, are making strides in civilization, who are contributing to our culture and our neighborhood. So this is not all we are about, but we just were talking about drill music and the conversation and the topic that's being discussed. Is it drill music fault for the crime and the spike in crime that we see in the black community?
No, it's the conditions. It's the
That's right.
conditions.
Yeah, so
You
we
said
don't
it all
want to.
along.
I think we all agree that it's the conditions, no matter what era we're talking about, whether it was in 1974, whether it's 2022. I just believe that topic, that subject, conditions, covers a multitude or multiplicity of issues that our generations face. No matter, listen, now we're talking about teens. Elders have done the same thing. Killing has no age on it. There's no only 12-year-olds or 15-year-olds. Mindset, conditions, surroundings, what's going on in your house, what's going on in your school, what's going in your head, what's going in your ear. It's a whole, nobody gets up in the morning and says, oh, I'm just going, well, no, I can't say that. No one is born and says, I'm going to be a murderer when I grow up. No kid in school at 4 or 5 years old, unless they're in the conditions that they're seeing this every day. Some people want to be, probably in the nation, you have little babies, they want to be the honorable minister. Like I want to grow up and be like the honorable minister Louis Farrakhan. Somebody want to be a lawyer like Ed Riley.
Wait a minute.
There you go, message to the black man.
I got to interject. Now, I really didn't. I saw the headline, and I know sometimes, or a lot of times, media can sensationalize things because they need the clicks and they need the eyeballs. But did I see a headline that said a father got his 4-year-old to shoot somebody or shoot at
Lord
the police?
have mercy.
Did anybody else see that story?
Lord have mercy. I saw something but I don't want to misquote. Let me see, can I find it?
Did you see that, Brother Ed?
No, I didn't see that.
I saw a headline which said a father had got his 4-year, and I know sometimes with this internet you got to be careful.
Wait a minute, hold on. Utah takes custody of 4-year-old whose father told him to shoot at the cops. In McDonald's drive-through window, was taken into child protective custody, police said Tuesday. The boy and his 3-year-old sister are now in state custody.
Yeah, now, I mean, because you were just talking about teens and nobody coming out the womb, but based on what happens when that child is in the womb, the prenatal care, as they call it, you as an individual, a child, can have a certain inclination or leaning towards certain things because environment shapes heredity. So teaches the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So based on what's going on with the prenatal care, what's happening around that womb, then you can have an inclination, a propensity to do certain things, drugs. And so that's why it is so important when women are pregnant. That's a very sacred time in a woman's life, so you can't
let's
have
go back to conditions.
Let's go back to conditions. A certain leaning and a certain inclination. What music are you listening to? What food are you eating? You understand? Because a lot of this has to do with chemistry. We are chemical beings, and we know food is chemistry. So if you're not eating the right type of food, it can alter your thoughts, your feeling, your mood. We know this to be a fact. We see on the commercials all the time. They say, don't take this drug after such and such. You may have suicidal thoughts. What is it? It's chemistry. right?
For depression.
Yeah, so we know that.
Wait a minute. Didn't Luke Minister say something about in one of his speeches that they had on the commercial that you might grow breasts if the men?
All
If
that.
they,
Yeah, we know that. You know, a lot of this
my
stuff
Lord,
is this behavior is chemically induced.
absolutely.
But man, we getting.
But if you're in elementary school and you're around in preschool and they have all their little action figures and they're watching TV based on whatever it is, subliminal perception has a lot to do with some stuff too.
Well,
So
well, let
you
me
might
say
not
this.
even be hungry, but if you see a McDonald's commercial, you might want some nuggets. So with children, I'm just saying, and what you're saying is 100% correct. But there's another piece of that. And whatever these children, like I said, when they're growing up, majority, now that 4-year-old, that was an exception because the parent was involved with that. But 99% of the time, babies want to be something different. Don't you agree, Dr. Ali?
Of course, of course.
They don't want to. They really, I don't care what their minds might be altered. Autism is set in, learning deficiencies. All of these things play a part of what you do when you're carrying a baby, unless it's just something hereditary.
But their mind is like clay. It's molded and shaped.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I
You got parents, you have children that grew up with parents that were drug addicted and they went off to be lawyers because they didn't want to live that life. I have a cousin that her mother was a straight alcoholic. She used to come in and have to pick her up off the floor, clean her, and do all types of things. And she was determined. So it doesn't always, they say the sins of the children, parents can fall on the children, but sometimes it doesn't. I believe that mindset and those conditions can have an effect, but
no, this is true, but the hour is growing short. We got to move
already.
On. Yeah, I know it's 6:47. If we could just.
When is our anniversary, Dr. Riley?
No, if we could squeeze, we want to talk about reparations, and I know we've been talking about it for a long time. Brother Zaid has definitely been on the front line. Him with Larry Ham, New Jersey Institute of Social Justice, many other, grassroots organizations talking about reparations, not just nationally but locally. We know that HR 40, and every time we talk about reparations, it's always a study. A study. And my thing is, listen, all of the black scholars, they did all the studies. The study's been done. We don't need no more studies. And I know a bill has been put on the floor. I think it was a few years ago. I can't remember the exact bill, Brother Ed. It was I forget the name of it, but talking about, the reparations task force. And again, it's and Brother Zaid may know the bill offhand, but I mean, the task force was created already. We did the work of studying and seeing what was old and what is due. So now we just need for Trenton and DC, these other state governments to no longer create a task force to study, but to begin to allocate some things, that which is necessary and that which is needed.
Some remedies.
Tell me it can't be done because
remedies.
The Chinese, the Japanese.
Come on here.
We know what Germany gave to the Jews. So, don't tell me you don't know why it's necessary and why it's a necessity, because reparations have been given to other ethnic groups. So that lets us know, that's evidence that when a people have been damaged, they need repair. And I'm not saying if you allocate some funds or some things that's going to be the all and be all. But I'm saying that the importance of reparations, repairing. Yes, America, I think it was 2007 or something, they, apologize. They always apologizing, but the apology have to be offset by something tangible. Okay, you apologize, you acknowledge the fault, now you got to correct it. And how are you going to correct it?
One of the essential elements of reparations is cessation. Cease and desist the structural harm that was created. It's not just about the dollar to throw some money at the damages.
That's
it's
right.
About the programmatic, structured things being put in place to repair the harm after the harm is properly and fully acknowledged, and to stop the harm. To stop the harm, the cessation is important, and folks need to understand. And reparations is just not no fly by night concept. That's why they're pushing back so hard on it, because it's going to require them to do things, to take responsibility for what they've done to with our oppression.
A brother said, I forget his name. It escapes me right now, but he said,
"Hey, Minister Haqq, I know who you're talking about.
Free labor. Yeah, give me the free labor of one black person. I would be a rich man. Give me the free labor of a dozen black people for one. Y'all be a very rich man. Give me the free labor of millions of black people for 250 years, and I would be America, right?
That's right.
So again,
that's a mouthful. Who said that? I forget who said that.
What is his name, brother Chris?
I think that's Dr. Claude Anderson, Black Labor, White.
No. It's not Claude Anderson. I'll get it. It's not Claude Anderson. He didn't say this one. He said a lot, but not this one. But I'm just saying that again, without the black man and woman, there is no America. And listen, that we have the empirical evidence. That's just not some theory or something we're saying to pat ourselves on the back or make us feel good. But America, by your own admission, you know what we have done as it relates to our contribution, our building of this country, and not just physically, but intellectually. We've been behind a lot of the inventions, that was quote unquote claimed by white folk. It was a brother right there sitting, making it happen. So our value to this country. And it is an injustice for you to act as if, when we talk about reparations, as if we're begging or we got our hands out or we want something for nothing. No, we deserve what we're asking for. And again, as you said, brothers, reparations is not just the allocation of money, but we also talking about the transfer of knowledge. You understand? We're talking about the transfer of land. The Black Muhammad said the black man need 100 million acres just to start. He said just to start, we need 100 million acres. So, and I mean, it is what it is, and we're gonna keep fighting. But I think, our expectation as it relates to America sometimes causes our it's like premeditated disappointment. But
But Minister Haqq, I read something the other day that was fascinating. It said that I forgot what book it was in. I don't really know who wrote this book, but it says sometimes you got to have a lifelong awareness of social conditions in the inner city, right? And then I read another book. I don't know who wrote this one either. But he said the same enemies of God yesterday are the same ones today.
Right.
And I don't know who wrote either one of those books. I don't really know who this guy is. I don't know if I've ever seen him before.
That's right. Yeah,
but,
some dude from Newark.
Some guy, yeah.
Some guy.
I heard he was a pastor in a hood or something. I heard something like that. But one of the things that I think is most interesting.
Some guy been around 28 years, I believe.
Yeah, something like that. But it's one of those things that I think that as we evolve and grow as a community, the problem is I don't think we're comfortable with the reality of really being on our own. Like I think in some ways we really do want to be included. And one of the things that I think is most difficult is, and I think that's the struggle with how we're feeling today about the person that has been selected to be the appointee for the Supreme Court, how we felt with some of the contradictions around Kamala Harris as vice president, is that we really do want inclusion. Unfortunately, that inclusion won't always equal injustice. So inclusion doesn't mean justice. And, I heard a minister from the Nation of Islam once say sometimes they use our black leaders like toilet tissue. I don't know who he was. Really, I wouldn't use that kind of, but no, but that's the reality, is that we want inclusion, but we don't know what justice is.
Right.
And so being close to power doesn't equate to power.
There's a big difference.
Being close to power does not equate power.
But I think that's why it's important in terms of what Ed Riley, the mayor, and many other brothers and sisters are doing in terms of the black Power Convention, which when it was originally done was a bold statement, because we were saying that we were tired of inclusion, that we wanted our own. And the mantra, Brother Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, Brother Zayed, it's nation time. That was the mantra. It's nation time. It's nation time. Because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad asked the question, do we have the qualified men and women for self-government? And he said that the answer is yes. And then he went so far to say, you do not have to be equal in knowledge with America in order to go on your own. Because he said, America, were you equal with Great Britain when you declared your independence? You were not equal, but you wanted to be independent because of the tyranny that you were under. And being under that tyranny, you said that persecution is worse than slaughter. So you didn't have all of the necessary tools, all of the necessary knowledge to go off on your own, but you had enough to go off on your own. And from the start, you grew and you grew and you continued to grow. And I think we have some of the most brilliant Black men and women on the planet. I'm just talking about in America. And we have brothers and sisters in the Caribbean and England and all over who have gained insight into a lot of areas, different fields that can help us and that want to help us. So it's not that we don't have the knowledge, the know-how, but what we don't have a lot of times is the will and the necessary unity that we need. But it's 6:56. We got 4 minutes left. I really wanted to talk about the swan song of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan this Saturday, but I'll just kind of wrap it up with that, Reverend Roundtree. Well, if you got any closing remarks.
She's muted. She's muted.
You muted, Reverend Roundtree. You muted, Reverend Roundtree.
While she's doing it, let me just say that this is go ahead.
Quote that you quoted about to give me the free labor of a dozen Black people for 12 years, and I'd be a very rich man. Give me the free labor of millions of Black people for 250 years. I don't know. It says Desiree Hathaway, but I don't know whether that's the person that actually did that quote. But I hope that we realize the worth and the value and the power that we have as a race. And I know this is something totally on the other side of Savior's Day, because the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, along with Amiri Baraka Jr., a senior rather, the father, back in the day, have always, and I talk about it all the time, our consciousness. My God, I don't know what it's going to take, Baba, for us to, how many knocks upside the head, how many generations we're going to realize. I often say to young brothers when I'm talking to them that, the truth of the matter is, as I close out these little few minutes that you've allowed me to speak, the truth is that, they don't have to hang us anymore. They don't have to burn us at the stake, even though some of that's still going on some places in the country. But in our urban areas, they don't. They don't. We don't even realize. That's why it's so important. I won't say we don't realize. It's so important to share history consistently. How dare folks want to challenge us teaching our history as they feel that it would do something to their children when we've been traumatized all of our life, which have a lot to do with, I'm sure, some of the conditions our children and our people decide to live in. If you've never known or heard about God, then somebody talking to you about God is like speaking in Russian. I would never walk up into a young brother on the street or on the corner, quoting the 23rd Psalm. I say this all the time, because if you've never seen a Bible, if I start talking about the Lord is your shepherd, he going to look about, well, why haven't he led me off this corner? So you got to introduce him to Baba, Minister Abdul Haqq, Minister Ali in the hood, and Baba Zaid to say, look, I'm a human being. I've had some issues too. And we can get past this. But it's going to take a collective to do that. While we talking about drill music, while we talking about reparations, I got to say this. One thing about our counterparts and people of the light of persuasion, they come together, they fight, they stay together, and go stay until they get what they want, no matter what At whose expense, Brother Jonathan? They're going to do it. We come together. We're going to fight each other. We're going to tear each other down.
Rolling,
It's not our idea.
We
We're
need
not
another
gonna put
5
it in
minutes.
line. Let me just say,
No,
that's all I got to say about that. But I have to listen because Minister Abdul Haqq has wisdom. Pastor Ali has wisdom. Baba has wisdom. I'm just a sister that they call now revolutionary Reverend Roundtree. But the truth of the matter is I'm a student. And they say when the student appears, when the teacher appears, the student will listen, whatever Street Doctor used to say. But I'm a student, whatever it is. I just want to say before I close out, Brother Jonathan, give me 2 seconds for you to shut me down. There is a State of the City coming up.
We always got to wrap it up. We always just start
the State of the City on March 15th at 7 p.m. I do have tickets for faith-based leaders. You can get as many as you want, but you better show up. You don't have me looking out there or the mayor, and then there's no seat and there's empty seats. So anyone who's interested in attending the State of the City Part 2 at New Jersey Performing Arts Center on March 15th, 7 p.m., please do call me at 973-733-5605. And if you didn't catch the number, call Pastor Ali and Brother Jonathan, Brother Ed, Brother Baba, and Minister Abdul Haqq, because they definitely on this All Politics Are Local number one hip hop.
And thank you.
I'm sorry.
She go out like that. She go out like that, like her red hair. She go out with fire.
Right.
The quote, Brother Chris, everybody else is from Ralph Wiley.
That's who it is.
All right, but we are. All right, and we also, we're ending this section because we got a tight schedule tonight.
Hi, Chris.
So,
today is the anniversary of the passing of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I have to say that.
Wow.
And 11 years before that, it was the anniversary of a young man named Cassius Clay whooping Sonny Liston and shaking up the
My
world.
Lord, come on,
and that's great. But we are out of time for this section, and so thank you,
brother.
Thank you so much. As always, learn so much from you.
Jonathan.
As always, thank you, the disciples, for coming on.
Thank you.
And Baba Zaid, man, you just throwing stuff in at the end.
Fire.
You got 3 more hours. I understand the disciples doing it, but you, Baba Zaid, you know we got a schedule.
I got the Baptist.
See,
All right,
good to
thank
see you,
so
Chris.
All right, y'all be good.
Talk to you later.
Blessings.
Alaikum salam.
All right, so we are getting ready to go into the next segment of All Politics Are Local. Thank you. We always love when you have the disciples on. And we got a full show tonight, right? Like this next hour, we are going to be talking to a council candidate, but more than that, somebody who's really a historical figure in the city of Newark. So we have on the Honorable Mayor. We still call him Mayor because
We know this guy.
Sharpe James, right? And we're going to do this in a series of sections. We're going to focus, we're going to ask you some questions first about the upcoming election. But I mean, just being honest with me, I definitely want to have a conversation with you about a lot of stuff in the past too, because I grew up with you, man. Like I was in high school when you first ran for mayor. I was, you've been always in the political landscape my entire life. So I've got a ton of questions for you, and so does Zaid, so does Ed, I'm sure. And it's an honor to talk to you, right? It's an honor for you to be here with you.
My pleasure, of course.
Well, Sharpe James, first question. I
think we should give him an introduction for people who don't know and haven't seen him in a while. We ought to give him an introduction. I mean, of course, we know who he is, but remember, the internet and what we do is worldwide. He's one of the most prolific mayors in this country, and we ought to give him his due. Yeah.
5-term mayor, 5 terms, right? 20. You served 20 years.
20 years of scars, yes.
and was a councilman, South Ward councilman before that, and
councilman at large as well too,
and a state senator for.
Don't say that. That's a double check. People get mad.
So you you have held many elected positions in the city of Newark. The Prudential Center came. You fought to have the Prudential Center here and the hockey team here. You fought to have the NJ Pack built here, right? A lot of those were controversial decisions, and we're going to get into all that. But as an introduction, you are a historical figure in the city of Newark, right? And you are 86 years old, and you are running for councilman at large in the coming election. So in the first part of this, Mayor, why you running, man?
And he looked good. Good for 86. Don't he?
I know he's still taking the bus apparently.
When all of
He just had that car accident. We was worried about it.
when all
How
of
are
us
you
look
feeling,
and
sir?
see that there's going to be 5 possible new council people, a majority of the city council, almost 5 vacancies. Eddie Arbonne took our ticket. As a taxpayer, as a community activist, and having had 38 years of pragmatic experience in government, I felt obligated to lend my expertise to the city council, to the mayor, to the people I love who adopted this poor boy who came to Newark barefoot from Jacksonville, Florida. I felt obligated. If you're talking about 5 vacancies new on the city council, you're talking about the majority. Then we would have the majority learning on the job. Why not one individual with pragmatic experience? And age is only a number. That's what Mom's Mabel said. Age is only a number. And I'm not as old as Mayor Vito Perillo of Kenton Falls, who just won re-election at 97. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet.
How about that? Yeah, how about that?
Okay. So when you're if you are elected, we always ask our candidates, what are the things that you're actually pushing for? Like when you look at Newark now, what are the policies that you'd be fighting for as mayor? What are the things that you think that need to be changed that you're going to be pushing as a council person at large?
Well, now, and that's a good question. I appreciate that. First of all, we have to curb the violence in our community, and the enemy is us. You know what I'm saying about that? You have to feel safe coming out of your house, going to school, going to work. We have to address and curb violence in our city. Every man needs a job. We have to create more jobs in the city of Newark. And that's why when you talk about economic developments under Sharpe James, well, that was great. The PAC is great. Prudential Center is great. Society Hill is great. But you know what's more important? The 30,000 jobs they created to put our people to work. Everyone's entitled to a job, pay rent, pay mortgage, pay that car note for that big new 65-inch television set. And then after that, we have to talk about education, the quality of education. Not only is it a national issue, a local issue. Do you wear a mask? Why should some schools wear a mask? Some schools don't wear a mask. Please help me out. We need to come together, develop a consensus. What are we doing? And then the issue of charter school versus private school. I'm still not one who believes that one is just better than the other. I came out of Miller Street School. Hello. I'm a graduate of the school there, now beating up in the press. Malcolm X Shabazz, Southside High School, Bulldog, here we go. I'm not of the opinion that public schools have to be looked down on. I mean, it makes no sense. Some of our brightest students, let's go back to Du Bois and all these great historians and people we love and cherish, they came out of public schools. Came out of public schools now. And someone asked the question, they were debating in Harlem, and she said, well, why can't you do the same thing you do in a charter school that you do in a public school? So, and then, of course, so we go from public safety, we talk about the need for jobs, we talk about education for our children, and then we have to do something that's important to keep all of us in Newark. We have to grow the tax base. We have to create new ratables in order to lower the tax rate and make Newark more attractive for people to relocate back here in our city. Hey, without tax abatement. I met a young lady yesterday, and she said, if they take away tax abatement, Sharpe, from my townhouse, I'm out of here. I can't afford it. It'll be a choice between heating and eating. So there are some issues. And then I'm always, maybe because I was an athlete, what have you, we need more programs for our young people to keep them off the street. I talked to you today because my mother kept me on the playground at Miller Street School and said, don't you leave until I pick you up after work. She was doing domestic work then. Then she became a restaurant, short order cook. Then she went to nursing school and became a nurse. But in between, you stay on that playground, Sharpe, and you don't come off that playground until I come home. Recreation, they took me in another direction, kept me out of violence, kept me out of harm's way. And then, of course, I believe that the senior years should be the golden years. Our seniors need more and more program, get them out of their house. And I say that maybe because I have a mother who's 107 years old, healthier than Sharpe James. Calls me 13 times a day. Hey, Sharpe, where are you? But there are things, but the most important thing I want to say, and I apologize for this maybe long, we do it in concert with one another. We build a consensus. It's not confrontation and that, it's about building a consensus, working together. I just believe that partnerships and coming together as people, respecting one another, being a family and solving our problem. It's not about one being bigger, smarter than someone else. It's working together. I look for a cooperative government where we work together to solve the issues before us.
Zaid, do you have questions to ask the mayor about, like why he's running or this coming election?
Well, I think that a number of things he was laying out. I'd like to just start with he talked about jobs, right? So with people coming out of the pandemic, where do we start at, Mayor James, in terms of creating those jobs for 30,000 people? Where do we start at?
Well,
we're talking about good paying jobs, right? We have to talk about good paying jobs.
Oh, I agree. Well, that's why people fought for what? A $15 minimum wage, and maybe it should be, some say that's too low. But Donald Tucker, one of the greatest councilmen ever lived in the city of Newark, who wore Newark on his sleeve, he created that affirmative action rule that 25% of every workforce had to come from Newark. And we would send people out on a site and count 1, 2, 3. Oh, one of us. And then they wanted to take us to court. And you know what we said to them? You have a choice, builders. You have a choice, construction, these major large companies, 500 companies. You can have a piece of the pie or no pie. Then we won't use you. We won't involve you in the city of Newark. You can't build a Prudential Center without us having 25%. You can't build New Jersey Performing Arts Center without us having 25%. And the late Gustav Hindenburg had a team that would go out there and count. So we have the workforce in Newark, but sometimes look around and see who's doing the work.
And Baba Zaid, do you have a question to ask the mayor about the upcoming election? I know, but you know how we're always trying to push the interview and go different places. And if we have more questions about this before we move on,
let me say this. Let me ask this though. I mean, here's what I'm concerned. I mean, he's a cherished elder in our community for all of the right reasons, right? What my concern is as some of us join the ranks of the elders and of course we need to remember his education background. What more do we need to do to set in motion, to train, to build up, to cultivate another generation of leadership, of folks who are from the town, trained by the best of our leadership in this town, and want to stay in this town and represent a future that builds on everything we have been trying to do over several generations now.
You hit a very important question that we don't like to talk about because too many people want to join with the leaders and drink with the leaders, travel with the leaders, and eat at their table. Essex County is 75% minority votes in a primary vote. Ken Gibson tried many, many years ago to talk about running for county executive. Newark City Hall, 920 Broad Street, cannot feed all our people, does not have enough job for all people. All of us fight for 920 Broad Street. I want to be mayor. I want to be mayor. Do anyone dream of being maybe county executive? Here we have Senator Weinberg retiring from the Senate as Senate Majority Leader. Ron Rice has been in the Senate 36 years. Nia Gill, maybe 20 years. Shirley Turner, 24 years. No, we weren't considered. The person who took my seat, I didn't use the word stole, took my seat, is now the Senate Majority Leader. We were never considered. I agree with you. Our leadership must look to pass that baton to others who are waiting in line. And the only way we do it is by example. One man, one vote. If we're 75% of the primary vote in Essex County, we should have more leadership that look like us. Hello.
And
it has blown my mind that after all these years, I'm glad you raised that about county, that we have not taken that seat. It just boggles my mind that we haven't gotten there yet.
Five cities. Hey, let's
just lay out the math. 75% ain't there ain't no small number.
Newark, Irvington, East Orange, and Montclair controls the county. 5 cities have 75% of the primary vote, and yet we're not interested. Not interested. That's something wrong with that.
And I think that really brings me to, could bring us to the second part, right? Because you're talking about right now, there's opportunity on the table for us to use our organization to do something that hasn't been done before for our community.
And they just redistrict Nia Cole. They just redistrict Nia Gill against Cody. Hello. Where's our leadership? We're gonna lose. We could lose Nia Gill unless all of us come together.
Gangster. Oh my God.
And so this actually brings me to, because you're talking about the current situation and what's going on. You were part of a generation that broke down barriers, right? Like you were part of that generation that had the first Black mayor in Newark that started to look at politics in a way that expanded for our community. I want to take you back. I want you to take us back. When you first ran for council, when you first got involved, what was it like? Why did you get involved?
Well, I was a big mouth coach at Weequahic and Westside High School. I was a community activist at Weequahic Community Council, president of the area board, and the city was forming a Black and Puerto Rican convention. And they told Ruth McLean to go to 43 Emmett Street, knock on the door, and ask that young man wearing the Tom McCann black and white shoes, the checkered pink shirt and the green pants to come into the convention. And I said, what convention? I didn't even know where City Hall was at the time. And they said, we're having a convention. I want you to come in and be the candidate for the South Ward. So here the coach, the big mouth coach with the bad afro hair and the space teeth. So I go, and everyone is told to walk out on the stage and say, I said, my name is Sharpe James. And I did have one thing. I had a little box. I said, I'm going to create a little city hall. You won't have to come downtown. You can come to 1072 Bergen Street if I get elected. And the people start clapping and everything and screaming and shouting. And I went backstage. I said, Earl Harris, who was the dean of politics, he fought to bring Essex County College in. I said, Earl, they like me. He said, no. You look like Bozo the Clown out there. That's what they're clapping for. He said, with them white Tom McCann shoes on, a pink shirt and green thing and that ugly afro. He said, "You Bozo the Clown." Well, Bozo the Clown won.
Now, was it?
And so now I'm on the council being carried by Ken Gibson, not just mayor. Let's talk about a decent man. Let's talk about a leader. Let's talk about an engineer who graduated from NJIT. Let's talk about a man for all people, not blood sports, not blood politics. I won on the backs of Kenneth Allen Gibson, who was elected the first Black mayor of a major northeastern city. And when he won, what did he say? Wherever the cities are going, Newark will get there first. And I was one of his strongest supporters on the city council for 16 years. They voted Sharpe James South Ward councilman, Gibson mayor, Sharpe James councilman at large, Ken Gibson. And then finally, the hue and cry, both of our groups came in and said, we're wearing Ken out.
I want to bring it back because we're going to get there. We're going to get to when you ran for mayor. But just in terms of what you were talking about with Baba Zaid and what you were talking about with how do you get a generation of leaders? How do you get into the process? You were like, I was just minding my business. I was coaching. Someone brought me in. There was a convention. I just came to the convention. We talked. Give me some more information about that. Like what? Like you didn't know about the politics? You didn't know about the convention? They just picked you?
When I was coaching at Westside championship teams, coaching at Weequahic championship team, I didn't know. I had no thought of City Hall, no thought of politics, didn't know what a district leader. In fact, it took me a million. What is a county committee man? What? I had no idea that. I have to thank the Donald Paynes. I have to thank the Earl Harris. I have to thank the Jesse Allen, who schooled me on the importance. And once I got involved, the Willie Wright, Amiri Baraka, all the architects of the Black Wave, they came together and took this naive athlete who wanted to run in the 1960 Olympics, who wanted to be the best soccer player, the best tennis player, the best track star. They told me the importance of politics. It puts the food on your table. It makes your street get paved. It cleans up the potholes on your street. It's who gets what. And they turned me around from just being an individual in sports and everything. And I would say our great athletes are probably the worst people contributing to changing our urban America around. They don't come back and build housing like Lionel Hampton did on Elizabeth Avenue. I praise Shaq for coming back to Newark. Hey, we got the Shaq Towers. Hey, Sharpe, drive me around. I want to see where I can put some houses here and there. Latifah, hey, Sharpe, I want to build houses in Newark. That's rare. And they had, salaries that we don't want to talk about. So I learned from what you were saying, the Earl Harris, the Donald Tucker, Mayor Gibson, Jesse Allen, Gustav Henningberg, Bob Kirby. So now I think I have an obligation, and you're saying it right now, to reach back and see our young leaders coming out of college who come home sometime disillusioned. They get an education, they get a degree, can't find a job. So I'm in agreement with you. We need to create that next level of leaders, young leaders coming in here and fight for more rights, more opportunities for all of us. I would say if Dr. King were alive today, he would say, how long? How long? I'm not sure he would be happy with where we are today.
I want to try to bring you back to those early times again, because again, like this history is getting lost, right? A lot of us don't know what are the things that actually made you. What was the most important interaction that you had, the most important story that you had from an Earl Harris or an Amiri Baraka or a Ken Gibson? Can you give us some of those conversations where you were schooled in politics, or at least one of those stories that schooled you in politics, a story that you remember now as being important to your development as a politician.
That young folks haven't heard.
Well, let me think now, and I've had the best. I like Ken Gibson and even Earl Harris, even Jesse Al was one of the better people. It was about don't ever look down on people unless you're going to reach down and pull them up. Sharpe, it's not about you. It's about the people. I remember the biblical stories they used to talk about all the time. The Bible says, what you do for the least of my people, you do for me. And I think I came in with an ego because I was the first Black athletic director that's in the state of New Jersey at Essex County College. We set world records with Russ Rogers coach. So I had an ego coming into politics. And I had to sit down with a Ken Gibson and Earl and them, and they would say, hey, Sharpe, what about that dirty lot over there? We have a responsibility to clean that lot. And I remember one time, and there was a big issue about money coming to the city, voting for the city. And some of us said, well, we're not going to vote for that, Ken. We're not going to support you. And we all went in, he called us in his office. All of us walked to his office. And for the first time, he had his feet up on his desk. And this African-American coalition, products of the Black and Puerto Rican, feeling our oats and everything. And I won't say who was loud and arrogant, said, Ken, we're not going to do this. And we don't care. And boom. And for the first time, Ken with his feet up on his desk said to each, how many relatives do you have on the payroll? How many jobs did I give you last week? If I don't get the vote that will help the people, that will clean those lots we were talking about, put more police on the corners where we need them in the neighborhood, every one of you who have an employed in the city of Newark will be out of a job at 12 noon tomorrow. So you can stick your chest up, talk loud, scare, woof, and do all that talk. But the metal's going to hit the rubber. If I don't get a vote that's going to improve the quality of life in this city, everyone who's been coming to me about perks, everyone's been coming to me about more jobs for their family members. In fact, one member had a free city car, got mad because it was a roll-up window, took it to a garage and billed the city X dollar to put in automatic windows. He didn't want to reach over and roll the window down. We can tell all kinds of stories like that. Ken wore Newark on his sleeves during good time and bad time. The Kawaii Towers things, trying to build for all people in the North Ward, can't do that. Riding police cars with black and white, can't do that. Yes, we can. So I think the key thing I learned, and I, the big old hard-headed athlete and everything else, humility, respect, and that you get elected to serve the people, not for perks, not for the salary or what have you. You have to have someone equal or bigger or higher than you say, hey, wait a minute. That's not why we're here. We're here to serve. We're here to help. We're here to improve, make a difference in quality of life. So I think humility is something people have to talk. As I talked to you today, you said, why am I running? Hey, they won't even count my ballots. We talking about, am I running? I turned in significant number of ballots. Same day other people turn them in. They have a count. They have a status report. You need more, you need less. No one has counted Sharpe James' ballot yet. They don't want Sharpe James to run. They don't want Sharpe James on the ballot. And I know you're going to get to the issue, but can run and can hold office. I don't know, maybe I didn't get the best education in the world. I didn't go to Harvard or Yale, but can't run and can't hold office are apples and oranges different. I have to run. I have to be lucky enough to get the support of the people. I have to be lucky enough to win, and I have to raise my hand for the oath of office on July 1st, 2022, July 1st, July 2022 to be in office. Then it's an issue of can't hold. But right now, I'm trying to exercise the American dream, the American promise. Be all you can be. Everyone has a right to run for public office.
And honestly, I don't think anyone, given your history, I don't think anyone can hold you back from running in the city of
Well,
Newark.
they're doing it now. I need your help. You better go with me Monday when I go to City Hall. I need you.
Well, now let's go back. Well, Ed or Baba Zaire, do you have any questions to ask him about that early time, right? Like some of that good history, because we could even get into were there like the thing that's going on now with you in terms of ballots. Did you see that before, right? In terms of not ballots, but the registration, right? The petitions. Has that been a part of politics even early on in terms of that, or other stories? Or Ed, Baba Zaid, I don't mean to hog this. Ed, ask a question.
Well, I'm curious when, obviously the legal mind in me says when someone says they won't count my ballots, are you saying specifically who that is, or are you saying that it's the clerk's office, or it's somebody specifically in this current administration? Do you know who they are, Mayor James?
Well, let's deal with the reality of it. You have an office of the city clerk who, remember now, handed me petitions lawfully and then called me up and said, you can't run. So my first question is, why give them to me in the first place legally? I did not break into City Hall on the cover of night and steal petitions. So the office of the city clerk has a unique responsibility. It's supposed to oversee, direct, and see that the American dream occurs in that office. So now you don't need an individual. The office of the city clerk. When I called the office of the city clerk today, said city clerk Ken Lewis is not in. I said, could I speak to the deputy, Kathleen Marchetti? Well, she's in a meeting. She'll call you back. Would you give us your number? Well, here's my number. Well, I still don't have a call. So you don't want to deal with an individual because no individual makes that decision. What we call the smoke-filled rooms. Let's go back to real politics now. Let's go back to politics. In a smoke-filled room, a group of individuals decided that we're going to delay, we're not going to count, we're not going to notify, and maybe we can just push this to March 7th with a deadline, and we won't be able to have sufficient petitions or what have you. It's a smoke-filled room decision that I understand. I'm a politician. Remember now, I'm a double agent. I've been on both sides.
And
some say triple agent, but just for the record, double agent.
Double O Sharpe.
You got it. Quadruple sometime too now.
And so you're saying that you've been on both sides of these, like back in the day.
I was councilman. You forgot councilman 16 years, mayor 20 years, state senator 9 years. I've been on both sides. I'm the one who held up the budget, state budget, 2020 vote. You need every senator, and I would not vote because they would not fund monies to Newark. And they crawled on the floor. Hey, Sharpe, change your mind. They grabbed my leg. Hey, Sharpe, change your vote. And I said, not until the city of Newark gets its fair share.
I do remember just reading about some of those things where you would basically hold the state hostage until they gave money to Newark. And I remember in times when you were not state senator, or when we had budget crises, there people would ask, well, like what was
wouldn't vote for pay raises, wouldn't vote for pay raises, didn't vote for council people to have cars. I said, Earl said, I don't have a car, I need a car. And they said, well, if guy, you won the council, you got to buy 9 cars. I said, Earl. And he called me an Uncle Tom. I said, Earl, no one put a gun to our head and told us we had to run for public office. When we took office, 1970, the salary was $12,000. It's about $90,000 today. And don't forget, when my dear friend, my dear governor, Jim McGreevey, after the tragic of 9/11, going to change the name of Newark International Airport to just Liberty International Airport. I said, wait a minute.
Remember that?
That's
man.
our land. You're our tenant. How are you going to get rid of Newark? Well, we're going to do it. And I said, I just got from the federal grant the largest garbage trucks on the planet Earth that they accused me I should have got money for drugs. Why'd you buy the garbage can? So I got beat up in the press by that. But I said, the grant said garbage trucks. If it says garbage truck, I can't use it for methadone clinics. I can't use it. So I had the largest sanitation trucks on the planet Earth, and you see some of them in Newark today. I said, Jim, in all fairness, if you change the name of, drop the name Newark from our airport, our land, 50 of those trucks will be out there at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, when 7, 10, 15,000 people get off that plane. So then they said, well, we'll call it Liberty Newark International Airport. No, John. Let's put Newark first. During the pilot landing, they're gonna forget Newark. And you fly today. We're landing at Newark. Most times they just say Newark International Airport. Worst comes to worst, they'll say Newark Liberty. But they want to take our name from us in the airport. I mean, Mayor Dunn tried that to me too. He said, oh, we're going to change it to Elizabeth International. I said, look, you got 10%, maybe 5% in Elizabeth. We got 95%. It's our airport. You can't do that to us. Well, that's why Sharpe James will always become a target. Hello? Remember that word. Will always become a target. If you stand for your people, if you stand for something, if you fight for something, you become a target. Now, if you want to go to the parties and have the drinks and laugh and giggle and all, you be in office forever. No, that's not what Ken Gibson taught me. You get elected to serve the people.
Now, I think that this might be a great time to talk about the person who replaced Ken Gibson, you, and how that, right? Like, you know, Ken Gibson's a mentor, Ken Gibson's friend, even after the election, right? But you took him out, right? He was mayor, and people were shocked when you took him out. Why did you decide to run? What was that about?
Well, as I said, it was the most spirited, heated election in the history of Newark. Two people who have been friends for 16 years. He was my mentor, my hero, my confidant, a person I love. That's the best word to say it. After 16 years, and I've always said this, Ken's 16 years in office with the police fighting him, the community fighting him, the Cower Eater Towers into trying to build in other wards and everything. It was like 32 years in office. So his supporters and my supporters start saying, hey, Sharpe, when you gonna run for mayor? And I was embarrassed by that. Hey, please don't say that. That's my mentor. That's my friend. Hey, Sharpe, when you gonna run for mayor? Both my people and Ken people. And then I recognized that Ken, we had put too much of a burden on our first African-American man. We wanted him to be Superman all at once. And so a group came to me and I said, well, okay, I'm gonna run. But I remember Earl Harris ran in '82 against Ken and this disrespected Ken, I would say. We're gonna get a big truck and we're gonna sweep out all of them in City Hall. And then he made the biggest mistake. We're gonna have dogs in the city of Newark, the rundown criminals. And when you say dogs, African Americans think of Birmingham, Alabama, and Earl said, well, don't worry about it. If you're not a criminal, they're not gonna bite you. That didn't sell either. So he lost. But now I said, my campaign would respect our hero, our mentor, the man who opened the door for all of us to be where we are today. And I came up with a plan. I said, it's going to be on issues, not sweep them out of City Hall, not bring dogs in and things like that. A sharp change. And people started calling me Sharpe Change. They actually thought that was my name. So
I remember
so now we separate husband and wife. Wife for Gibson, husband for Jay. We separate sisters and brothers split for the first time. They had been voting for all of us. But here's what happened. When I won on that day, and the press lines, James denies Gibson the fifth term, blah, blah, blah. The first phone call I received the next day, first phone call for Ken Gibson. Hey, Sharpe, be in my office 9 o'clock tomorrow, sharp. I said, what? He said, do you hear what I say? Be in my office 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'm going to make you a good man. Let me tell you, folks, they say men don't cry. Tears came down my eyes. And the next morning, I wasn't there at 9 o'clock. I was there at 8:45. And in that office where I've been meeting for 16 years, councilman to Mayor Gibson, he said, now look, here's some do's and don'ts if you're going to be a good mayor. And for over 1 hour, don't meet alone with people in your office. It'll be your word against their lies or what have you. Make sure you have someone in there with you when strangers come in and third parties and controversial people. He went on and on with just tremendous advice. And then he said, hey, pack your bag. I'm taking you to Puerto Rico. They're having a U.S. Conference of Mayors meeting in San Juan, Puerto Rico. I'm taking you next week. Go pack your bag now. Well, now we get to Puerto Rico, and he's walking me around saying, I want you to meet Mayor-elect Sharpe James. And one guy said, hey, Ken, why are you taking that guy around who defeated you? Get him out of here. And Ken looked at him and pointed his finger. And he said, I lost the election, but Newark's got to win. And I want you to help Mayor-elect Sharpe James. Not a sound in the room, not a dry eye in the room. Here's the man I defeated saying, I'm going to help you be a good mayor. I'm going to help you make Newark a better place to live. You have to love Ken Gibson. He wasn't just mayor. He was a symbol of a human being who put people ahead of politics. And we don't have that today in too many places. Let me tell you that right now.
And just to ask a question really about when you decided to run and what you're saying, that a lot of people were saying that, you know, he has basically been there too long, right? He had made a lot of enemies over the years.
Well, they said I couldn't win. They said it was an unbeatable foe. Had 5,000 workforce, a war chest ready to run. My wife didn't agree with me. My children said, stay the course. And Debonair Ralph Grant on the city council, they asked him, he said, well, Ken mixed the mortar and James laid the bricks. I think they should stay. I think Sharpe James should stay as a councilman, and we should keep Mayor Gibson. We know what we have in Ken Gibson. We don't know what we're going to get in that poor afro, space tooth, a maverick Sharpe James. But secretly, now I always say that Ralph Grant wanted to be mayor himself. Now let's be honest about it.
So it really seemed like a lot of you have been together since the early 70s, and it was kind of like a potential Game of Thrones thing, right? Like, but you saw and you knew you could win. Did you already get a lot of the people?
Well, he didn't know he could win, John, because I think.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, go ahead. I think you can answer.
I remember now, back up. I was a councilman for 16 years, ran unopposed in 1978. In 1982, when I was a safe councilman, what did I do? I ran at large, and I was the top vote getter. And everybody said he must have stole some votes. They couldn't believe. Remember now, before running for mayor, I gambled on my career because people would call me from all over the city. I didn't run for a safe seat in 1982, Sharpe James ran for at-large councilman in 1982 and topped the ticket. I am the first ward councilman who became councilman at large, and I'm the first councilman to be elected mayor. And I'm the only person you'll interview, probably alive today, that was selected, Black and Puerto Rican, and elected by the people.
So really, when you ran at large, that's the citywide position, right? Because you got to get people from all over the city.
Right.
And from that, you actually did know you had a shot at being mayor.
Of course I had a shot now. Hey, when I beat Donald Tucker and all the others, they said, hey, we ain't meeting with Sharpe. He something wrong. We need a recount. I got more votes. They felt something was wrong because I don't think anyone took me serious. Remember now, and this is an important question. No one ever voted me for council president. People didn't trust Sharpe James because he was against raises, against cars, against this, against that. I was too independent, too unbossed. And when I ran against council president against Donald Tucker, in fact, in 82, I said, hey, I got most votes. I should be council president. And Donald looked at me and said, hey, it ain't most votes, brother. It's who can get 5 votes. Members of the council. He said, it ain't most votes. It's who can get 5 votes. I didn't get those 5 votes.
So, and I'm just asking, Scott, I have no idea what the answer to this question is, but when you were running for both the council seat at large and as mayor, what was the nature of the backroom conversations where you were getting people who were in the other camp into your camp? Is that something that happened? Like you had a series of conversations and there were people who were formerly in Gibson's camps got flipped to yours. Is that a thing?
I think I appeal because I was never viewed as a raw politician. Remember, Sharpe James, most people, and when you try to introduce me on TV, I was smiling. When I walk the streets, some people say, there's my teacher. A lady met me yesterday and said, you're my teacher, Health 101, at Essex College. I turned the corner, someone said, there's my coach. Hey, there's Coach Sharpe. Never said mayor, never said. And then I turned the other corner, so someone said, there's my tennis player. He played with Althea Gibson. He played with Arthur Ashe. Remember, I brought Arthur Ashe here, and we created a national, international tennis program to curb youth off street violence. What a successful program. And of course, now, when they interviewed us at Westside Park, they said, Arthur Ashe, please tell her, is Sharpe James a good tennis player? And I said, just don't let Sharpe James call the lines. He ain't never seen a ball out. So my point is, and then of course I'm a member of the Rainbow Yacht Club. Some people want to hide that, but I'm a boater. I jet ski, I water ski. I'm a jock. I tell so I'm a jock. But again, the humility I learned from Ken Gibson, the humility from a Donald Tucker, and well, Donald was political. He taught you everything, he was probably one of our most astute politicians ever served on the city council. Donald Tucker. He read everything, knew everything, and he was just he took his job serious. Came early and left late. So they taught me. You talk about the people. We were forgetting some of our heroes. The Jesse Allens, all those community centers. I mean, someone talk about education. George Bryant. Hey, when Cory Booker ran against George Bryant, people don't know they went to a runoff. Hello, Buddy Gee. He can't read. He can't write. All them bad things said about him. They went to a runoff, and the only reason today I believe George Bryant's lost, because Sharpe James had put Society Hill in the Central Ward, and people thought they were in Boca Raton, sitting in them big chairs and the swimming pool, the clubhouse, and remember now, people lined up for 1 week in the rain to buy the first units in Society Hill.
Yep.
And I was there last week looking for a unit for one of my sons, and it still looks today. And guess who I was in line behind? Students from NJIT, students from Rutgers University, people from New York City want to buy into Newark Society Hill. So we're not as bad as people paint us, but we're not where we want to be. And that's where we are. What's that old saying? I'm not what I want to be, but thank God I'm not what I used to be. That's where Newark is today. We're at a pivotal time that if we could stop the confrontation, if we, the oppressed should never become the oppressor. Why did we elect a Ken Gibson? We were a majority people, powerless under UJ Adonisio, and we had to form a convention in order to put Ken Gibson in. We had to get rid of the oppressors in order to survive, in order one man, one vote. Now, why should we become the oppressor? Why should my votes not be counted timely after 38 years serving the city of Newark? Why should politics be played around me? I'm a public servant. I love the city of Newark. I wear that T-shirt. I wear Newark on my sleeves. And yet I'm being oppressed in my own city, the city that I love dearly. Wrong.
And so that's a good place right there, right? So you talking about going down to the clerk's office on Monday. What time are you going down there?
Well, I'm going to my doctor in the morning. My 107 mother doesn't go, but I have to take a few pills to roll out of bed. But like I say, I might be old, but I ain't cold. So I would say around noontime. Now, remember now, and you didn't get to the big. Sharpe James, I read in the newspaper the other day, Sharpe James, he was indicted on this. He went to jail and he lowered the price for that girl, that mistress and all of that.
I know.
Go read that article because I love you read the article because you're reading what the prosecutor said. Nowhere. Not one word. I want to give someone $1,000 now. Go get the article and find what the judge ruled. $1,000.
It was
go find out what the Third Circuit Court of Appeals ruled. I'll give you $1,000. Go find out what the Supreme Court ruled. I'll give you $1,000. You're reading what the prosecutor said in 208, and my case went through a district court where Judge Martini said he didn't do that, he didn't do this, he didn't do that. It went to the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. It went to the Supreme Court in the Jeffrey Skilling case on the question of honest service, and it came back to the Third Circuit of Court, who issued an order amending opinion. And I wish someone would read that.
Well, I mean, like I actually, when you were convicted the first time, I thought that I was trying to figure out why you were, because there were. It seemed like there were different tracks they could have gotten. I know there was a trip. But he was never prosecuted for that. When the former governor of New Jersey prosecuted you, he prosecuted you under like this law basically that was you had done something wrong, but the law was really vague, right? And that's what you're talking about.
I helped a black woman make $400,000 allegedly if she made that. However, right. I helped two white women. I helped two white women make $6 million. That was good government. And they're still in business today at 103 Magazine Street in the city of Newark. So if I help an African-American woman make $400,000, that's criminal. If I help two white women make $6 million, that's good government. And let me tell you, and one of our great leaders interviewed me while I came out of prison. He said, Sharpe, if you had to do it all over again, you wouldn't help that black woman, right? I said, you got it all wrong. If I had to do it all over again, I'd do the same thing and I'd be back in prison. I was elected to help all people. All people.
But the thing I wanted to just bring out, because that you were bringing this out, right? Like the actual law that you were convicted under it was vague, right? Like it was almost like if someone
Deprivation of honest services, and when the Supreme Court ruled against that, they said, well, Sharpe, there were 3 counts of mail fraud left in there. Now, what was mail fraud? The African American woman went to a mailbox and dropped 3 contracts in there to mail back to the Department of Development in the city of Newark. So that's mail fraud, using mail fraud.
But it wasn't to you. And there were multiple witnesses said that you never even communicated with them about
not one. Hey, you real good on this. Not one witness, government or defense, took the stand and accused Sharpe James of anything. And when Primavera, who was sent there by Corzine, the one who bought the State House, made his summation before the jury, he jumped 3 feet in the air, clicked his Johnston heels, and said, we have no smoking gun evidence against Sharpe James. No one's going to come here and say anything bad about it. We want you to use your imagination. Send a message. Send a message that all black people who go to court are guilty before they go. Send a message. And I mean, the court went wild. And the judge, order in the court, order. And my lawyers jumped 3 feet in the air. Objection. The prosecution's made illegal summation to the jury. So the judge called for a sidebar, and they said, well, they cured it. Well, I take the ruling of what the Bruton law said. What does the Bruton law say? You can't unring the bell. Right. The jury heard it. And he said it, and the jury heard it. So that's the Bruton law. You can't unring the bell. His message to the jury was, we have no smoking gun evidence. No one's going to take the stand and accuse Sharpe James of any wrongdoing. What I want you to do is to send a message. Use your imagination.
Yeah, well, I do remember me being like, it was like the image of Sharpe James was an image of someone who might have played fast and loose, right? Like you have a Rolls Royce, right? People are like, hey, Sharpe James, you got the Rolls Royce. You're in the
well, now it's 1980 now. Let's give it a date on it. Like historic, I couldn't afford the one I wanted now. I wanted the Caprice convertible, and I couldn't afford that. So I went out and bought a 1980 antique that would break down every 2 blocks and everything. But it was a Rolls Royce. And they said, he's got a Rolls Royce. He had a swimming pool in a summer home. That was a Quam who made all. And by the way, when he was nominated to become a Supreme Court justice, all those things came back to haunt him. You know what I mean? He was against a black man having a 1980 Rolls Royce, against a black man having a summer home, against a black man having a swimming pool. Oh, come on, please give me a break, will you?
But what I'm getting at is, like, you are incredibly charismatic, right? You walk into a room, you take it over, right? You are full of like stories. You have a flamboyance about you that's often described, right? And it seems like in the trial, it just worked against you because
that's true. Now, someone today said I should have never had a trial by jury where they could do all that. Several times the judge had to warn the prosecutors who were there from 972, whatever, Broad Street. They stacked the courtroom and they yelled, they screamed, they called their witnesses, Basil Franklin, turncoat. And the judge had to say, wait a minute, stop it now. I'll dismiss you if you continue to be rowdy. It really was a circus. The only thing missing was the children from school.
Mm.
But that's right. But you know what? And when I was on David Wildstein radio show the other day, who also quote the prosecutor, but not the judge, quote the prosecutor, not the Third Circuit, quote the judge, not the judge. I said, David, if the Supreme Court, where Biden is going to nominate the first African-American female, if we're not going to adhere to the ruling of the Supreme Court, if we're not going to adhere to the ruling of the appellate division, Third Circuit Court of Appeal, then we should abolish them. But then when I say that, I get chills. Every month, we read in the paper where an African American, 23 years in jail, 16 years in jail, 12 years in jail, away from their family, away from income, are now released because it took someone off the street and falsely identified him. How about the one where the young lady picked him out in the what do you call it, the lineup, said he raped me, and then what was that? 16 years? Just read it. She said they forced me, they coerced me, and she what? She apologized to him. 16 years later, I'm sorry, the harm I did to you. But I ask you, 16 years in jail, 23 years in jail, what can they give you your life back?
But I hear what you're saying, right? Like, and again, when you're convicted of that, and actually looking at and reading the Supreme Court decision, reading the questionable law that Christie used, and understanding that, you know, that no one really testified that you actually took a bribe. Like the Supreme Court ruled that if anyone's convicted in that role for the future, they have to attach that there's some evidence of bribery.
You're too intelligent for me. It said, in order to have an honest service crime, there must be two elements: kickback, embezzlement. And Judge Martini specifically in the district court, Jane, I'll quote it after 14 years I've lived with it. This is not a trial where we have an official taking money, embezzlement, or wanting money back. And that's the most serious offense. This is not a trial where he went on and on and on. No one wants to read that. No one wants to read that. But
given all that, and I believe you are right about that, just based from what I've read, what I've heard, all the other stuff. Like the evidence is on. Like the Supreme Court actually wrote a decision that seemed to impugn the decision that was used to convict you. That's just true, right?
Both Mayor Vaz of Amboy was released of all the honor service crime the day after Supreme Court ruled. The Bergen County Chairman Furiero, and I apologize for that pronouncing incorrect. Both of them, honest service crime, were dropped immediately after the Supreme Court ruling by the U.S. government. Right. Sharpe James was the only person in New Jersey and in America whose honest services charge was not dropped after the Supreme Court ruling.
All that true, but I have one more question for you, right? Like I know we're running out of time. We've got to have you back on, right? We got to have you back on because there's just way too much history for us not to have you back on. But my almost final question for you is not about this specific case, but do you have any regrets, right? Do you have things that you would have done over again as mayor? Do you have things that you were like, hey, I shouldn't have done it this way. I shouldn't have done this. This is a backroom deal, probably shouldn't have made. Like what is it that you were like, hey, if I had a do-over, I would do over?
Good question. If I had to do it all over again, perhaps I would have, I don't know. I just think that God creates you in a certain image in a certain way, and you can't change. Remember I told you Bob Kirby asked me that question, if he had to do it all over again, and I said, no, I would have to help the people, regardless of color, race of it. I don't think, Prince shouldn't have been born when Michael Jackson was born, can't change it. God put us here on this great earth through his benevolence and kindness. And so despite the scars I have, the keloids down the length of my chest from having open heart surgery, despite my high blood cholesterol, despite low blood count, if I were acting in life, then I could do something different. But I wasn't acting. I was a poor boy from Jacksonville, Florida, from an outhouse who ended up an overnight guest at the White House because of the love and respect that the people in Newark gave me. And I tried to serve them. So I was never an actor. Some politicians are actors, so they can change, be different people, what have you. What you see in Sharpe James with the Tom McCann black and white shoes, what you see with my poor afro and now little hair on the head and my bad space teeth. Some lady said, dentist said, Sharpe James, I can give you a whole new a set of teeth. Could you come in next week? And I said, if I've lasted this long and the people had voted me off, why would I want to look different? And I need that. One of our politicians dyed his hair trying to look young, and all his hair, lost all his hair trying to dye it to look young. Bought a red sports car that looked like a teenager's, and then that wrecked on him. So, in answer to your question, and it's a profound and an important question, Sharpe James couldn't be anything different because he was never on a stage. What you saw is what you got. When Earl called me an Uncle Tom, perhaps he viewed me as an Uncle Tom. When they called me Bozo the Clown, they viewed Bozo the Clown. That was they right for an interpretation. No, I wasn't acting, so I can't change from what I've been, what I am today, and what God, through God's benevolence, continues to allow me to communicate with you wonderful gentlemen tonight.
I think I would ask that question a little different. I heard TD Jakes say one time, he said that, he was talking about his 50-year-old self talking to his 30-year-old self. And I guess I would ask that question then this way. What would an 86-year-old Sharpe tell a 50-year-old Sharpe? What would he tell?
I got 3 boys. I better watch out. I think this is what I tell them. I think too many people running for politics today because of the income. Now, remember what I said? I said something that probably the salary was $12,000 in 1970. It's now about 90,000, whatever, it was 86 when so let's say, and you get a car, and you get 5 aides. I think people are running for office for perks, not to serve the people. And I would say to my son, don't view politics as a job. Politics should be viewed as a career, as a willingness to want to serve people, to help people. As Councilman George Branch used to say, that I can't get it out of my head, never look down on a person unless you're going to help that person up. So I would say, when you go to the Hamptons, you go to the Morehouse, you go to the Shaw University, think of careers where you could serve your people and impact. But don't think that politics is just a job, the wrong framework. I think most people look at that, hey man, hey, that's a good job. Get some perk, all that money and cars and travel. I've learned through the Ken Gibsons, the Earl Harris, the Donald Tuckers, it's not about perks, it's about service.
And that's a great way to end off. Thank you so much, Mayor James. We would definitely have to have you back on.
My pleasure.
And we always ask our guests, who is a hip hop show? Who is your favorite hip hop artist, individual or group? I'm just trying to slip this in there real quick. Who's your favorite hip hop artist, individual or group?
You know what? I'm a music lover. I love and see there. I square dance too, so I'm a square. My favorite going pop is Tina Turner. We don't need another hero. Beyonce and Jay-Z and all of them. I like all. That's. I'm glad. I see when I was in school, I was like only 3 blacks when we went to Panza. Only 3, but I learned square dance and enjoy square dance. I can square dance with the best of them. I can salsa with the best of them. I do it all. I love all music. And hey, now remember, and I apologize. When we sent Louis Armstrong to Russia, they said, why send Louis Armstrong to Russia? He doesn't speak Russian. It's a disgrace. 200,000 people lined the runway, and he did that song, Mac the Knife, or his favorite song. Music is international. How many times have you flipped the TV and there was someone singing a different language, different culture, and it held your attention? Louis Armstrong was an ambassador for the world.
And Mayor James, thank you so much. Thank you for your answer. Thank you for your
My
patience.
pleasure.
And thank
My
you for
pleasure.
being
Good to see you, sir.
All right. And thank you so much. And this is All Politics Are Local, America's number one political hip hop radio talk show.
It's interesting, John. I think that interview has historical value, right? I think that, and as you listen to him, you get the sense of not only his vast history, but his vast, just knowledge about politics.
He was mayor of Newark for 20 years. He was councilman for 16. He's got stories. We got to have him back on because we need more of those stories. Those stories can't get lost. So but we have our next next guest on, and we apologize to our next guest because we were running a little late with that previous segment. But we have our next guest on to talk about, we did a lot of history in the last segment. This is a lot of contemporary stuff that's happening right now in this segment. So welcome here. Baba Zaid texted me. It was like, look, the kid who was abused by a police officer, a smaller black kid in a fight, that the YouTube video or the online videos all of us have seen. And how they went after the black kid, and the white kid sitting down thinking he even puts his hands up thinking he's gonna get locked up, getting arrested, and they're like, sit down on the couch. We know, right? So we are honored to have the aunts and uncles of that young kid on here tonight to have this conversation, this very serious conversation. The first question I have to ask though is the kid okay?
Zakai,
is he okay? Sometimes I don't use, because he's a minor, sometimes I don't use kids' names out there. So usually it's the relatives, they want to put the kid's name out there, the young man's name out there. They can't put the man's name out there, but I usually don't. I'm a teacher, so I usually don't. But everyone saw it. Is he okay? How is he doing?
Well, his name's everywhere, honestly. So it's Zakai, but everyone knows him as Kai. Yeah. I would say okay in a general term, because kind of what he's going through isn't something you can see unless you know him. I can say he's overwhelmed at the moment because this is a whole lot. Frustrated, partially because he's a child. He doesn't completely understand or even grasp the effects of what happened. He just knows he's stuck in the house and isn't allowed to go anywhere. And he keeps doing these interviews, and he's ready for it to be over. And he's ready to just basically be able to hang out with his friends again. I say it's a lot. And I would say, as far as any sort of trauma, that's something that unfortunately you can't always see right away. It's something that you see down the line and how it affects them. But I would say he's okay, but that's a relatively loose term, like I said.
Let's back up because I want them to be introduced a little better. And that was a great way to lead into it. And Honore, I appreciate you laying out. That was a very layered answer to that question. I want you to introduce yourselves. I want to thank James Carey, right, the brother in this mix. James is an old soldier, great organizer, straight out of Union County. Done a whole lot and continues to do a whole lot in his own name, but it's our work over the years together around the question of police brutality that he reached back, listening to his children who was Zakai's age, that made him make these connects and bring us all together to rally around this young man and his family in this situation. So I want James Carey to properly introduce Andre and Lynn, right, and then we can unpack this conversation and take it to where we need to go.
Okay, thank you, brother Bubba. I don't know what to say about these two remarkable women, but and the last week I've engaged with, her name is Auntie Lynn to me now. I've been her privilege of talking to her, and my new niece Henri, she spoke so eloquently Saturday. So this is my new adopted family, but I take great pleasure in introducing these two women. They're remarkable. They speak eloquently, and my hat, I can't say enough about them. My hat just goes off. I just tip my hat to them because they make themselves accessible to me. We've been doing this over 30-something years, and it's not easy, but they're willing to fight the fight and go the long haul. So like I said, I take great pleasure in introducing Auntie Lynn and my little sister Henri. This is Zakai's great aunt and his aunt.
Yeah. And so much is going on. Tell us. Here's what I'm getting at. And appreciate this, right? Every once in a while, the bully picks on this person, picks on that person, picks on the other person, but then there's the wrong person that comes up, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then not only do we have this situation where this bully picked on the wrong person, but we haven't even got to Kai's mind. There's another aunt out there that's making noise too. They picked on the wrong family, right? This where this family has come together and responded to this has been profound. But let's get at just really what's at stake now, right, Brother Carey? You've been on this battlefront a long time. How would you assess this case among the many cases of police brutality that we've had to deal with in this town? And to Auntie York and Andre is you could be a daughter, you young woman, right? But you're his aunt. I want y'all to know that not only do you have this show, which is one of our community drums available to you, but you've got a lot of experience at your disposal that's really rallying around your family in this particular moment. Andre, I shared with you that on Monday I might even be able to get down to be with y'all and the kids on Monday when they march, because I run a statewide coalition around police brutality. We're trying to shake New Jersey up. There's some things that need to be happening in New Jersey. So we're trying to shake New Jersey up around what they ought to be doing. And I'm not talking about the police. I'm talking about the people we vote for that are in office, right? And that say they're going to do certain things for our community. That's why they took our vote. You see, so there's a lot going on that you find you are now in, and I want you to be aware that. And Brother Carey, you can help them unpack that as we talk about just what's going on with this young man, how this has affected the students around him. They're marching on Monday. There's another rally on Wednesday. The attorney's going to be in town on Wednesday. All of that. What's next on the horizon, and what are the needs that y'all have? What does justice look like for Zakai and his family? And anybody can go now.
Is that a question for us?
I've been hearing that you're a ball of fire. We ain't heard from you. We done had Andre all over the television and everything. I'm hearing about you. Come on, talk to us, Queen. Talk to us about this young man and what your family needs.
Well, the only reason I wasn't standing there with my family is because I reside in Florida right now. But I was definitely there, tuning in here from Florida. Can you guys hear me? I feel like I'm getting
You're fine. You go right ahead.
Okay. You said the question was, what does justice look like for us?
And what do you need? What in terms of support? What kind of support do you think you need from the community as we try and rally around this particular case?
Right now, I can speak for my family. We are definitely in a spirit of just being appreciative of what the community what the leaders, what you guys have stepped up to the charge without even us having to ask. So we're in a grateful place. First of all, that our Kai is safe and that he did what he needed to do to come home that night. So that's first and foremost, that we're not doing a hashtag rest in peace, rest in heaven. So from that standpoint, we're grateful. What we need right now is to not take our knees off of their back and neck. That's just where I am personally, and I'm going to speak for my family. We just need the community to stay with this, because I know for a fact they want you to get tired. They want you to get tired of rallying. They want you to get tired of protesting. They want you to get tired of organizing and just scurry on home. So what we need from the community, from everyone, is to keep the same passion until the end, until justice. And what is justice? That's really relative, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me personally, I want them in a different career. They do not deserve to be police officers, law enforcement. They don't deserve that right any longer. They need another career. So I would like to see that happen. I don't believe that they can be retrained. That's a mental state. That's a mental way of being. I firmly believe that when you're put under pressure, the true you comes out. I don't care how much training you have. And you can't train who you are away. Secondly, I want an apology to my nephew. I want a public apology to my nephew from them. You know, they make children write apologies to the teachers or write apologies. They deserve to write an apology. Secondly, I want charges to be brought up against them. Because if you're not working in the line of duty, then at that point, you're being just like a regular citizen where you're abusing people. And why do you get to just get slapped on your hand? We hold certain offices to a higher standard, and the police have not been held to that standard. So for me, and I'm going to speak for my family, Henri may have also some things to share. To me, it'll never be justice, because you tainted a young man. You tainted his life. You tainted something in him that you did not have the right to do. You gave him a memory of his childhood. You stripped him and you violated him. So there's nothing that can ever make that right. And that's the part that angers me. That's the part that cracks my heart in half.
Mm-hmm.
So the least they can do is to remove them out of their office, apology and charges to be made. And then from there, we continue to grow as a community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Andre, we heard you at the rally, but what say you now? What say you now to add to what your auntie's saying?
I think my aunt summed it up pretty well. Ultimately, when it comes to what the expectation is, I think the reality is that they aren't held accountable. And a lot of people may argue that my nephew is okay. But then I would push back and say, why does someone have to die for things to be changed or for there to be an issue? You start at the basic level. You don't wait for an extreme case. As far as our needs, as far as his family needs, pretty much continue to speak, continue to support on multiple levels, continue to incorporate, continue to build programs and build up children to replace these officers. And not just the officers, the leadership above them. Because a police officer can't have a job if they're not hired. It's multi-level, from the hiring process to the supervisors to all the way up to the top, every legal aspect. It doesn't start just at the bottom. Someone's tolerating the behavior. And as someone who was born and raised in Somerset County, We are all aware of the racial disparity of the Bridgewater police. It's something that is common knowledge, and even as friends when you were younger, we're advised of like, oh, be careful, Bridgewater's a little racist. Like, that's not anything that's new. So I just say continue, like my aunt said, continue to keep pressing forward, because they feel as though they have the power of the law that's to stand for them, when really, in reality, they're supposed to be a representation of that law, and they haven't been.
Is it true? And Brother Carey, I want you to jump in anywhere you want to, right? And I'm just doing this. We know the answers to these questions, us on this line, but for the community's sake, our audience sake, in spite of the outrage of what the entire world saw happen to Zakai, is it also true that the very mall in which the incident took place banned him from entering the mall for 3 years?
What?
Is that true also?
That's correct.
Can I actually add something?
Please do, yes.
So when my sister went to pick him up, they did not advise her of the situation and what transpired. It wasn't until after she saw the video and we saw the video that Monday that we actually saw the situation. She wasn't aware of it. But in addition to that, the mall actually told her she is financially responsible for paying for that table that the police officer knocked over when restraining Kai. So, like, what can you say about that? It's just blows my mind.
And what is the name of this mall? What is the specific name of the mall?
Bridgewater Commons.
Yeah.
So is there like, are people just no longer going to that mall? Malls are in trouble all over the country. I'm assuming Bridgewater is probably not that different. Are they taking a hit based on that?
They should.
Well, if I may,
jump in.
We just got off the pop the special meeting, pop meeting for Zakai, and there were several recommendations that were made. Some, I think, Tormel and the young kids, they're gonna march to Bridgewater Commons to the mall, and they're gonna stage. I guess they're gonna stage a protest there. And
this is Monday at 3 o'clock, so starting from the police department headquarters.
Yes,
for everybody's sake. Yes.
Yeah, and then from what I took from that previous meeting, there's another organization that's supposed to be organizing something at the mall. So there, on several fronts, there are things that's going on. To answer the brother's question, the word was tossed out there about boycott, but Chairman Ham said that we have to be careful because of the ramifications. People have been known, like the repercussions of suing when you start talking about economic boycott.
Well, I can tell you this. As for me and my dollars, I can spend anywhere and it won't be there.
That's right.
And I wish I would catch any of my friends there.
That's right.
And hello.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, Zaid must have. Zaid is.
I got right. Okay. All right.
Where's Zaid go? Where's Zaid go?
Blame it on COINTELPRO.
So there are questions about whether or not to do, like, you can't call it boycott, but I don't, or at least there are risks of calling it boycott.
Yes.
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that organized and free speech is free speech, especially when it's the video attached and there's evidence, right? Like, it's liable if you're spreading lies, but if you're like, hey, you saw the video, the mall people think that we should pay for the table that the police officer knocked down.
That hasn't gotten press yet, by the way.
I mean, that's just fact, right? Like, I don't think anyone should. I'm gonna say it. I'm not gonna go there and spend any money. I don't think anyone else should either, right? Not until they issue an apology to you. So, like, that is my opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion about the people who own that mall are anti-Black, right? Because, or at least they had anti-Black actions. The actions that they took appeared to me to be anti-Black. To see the video, to see the police officer knock over a Black kid, to see that, the white kid is just like, no, like, sit down, young man, we'll be there. That is what it seemed to me upon seeing it. If I'm like, I don't think anybody should spend money at that mall. I think that mall has demonstrated if they have asked you to pay for that, not elicit an apology, then that is problematic. I would not want to spend money there. I don't think anyone else should spend money there. I think a boycott should be done on that, because I think that is dangerous behavior for Black people, right? I think they put young Black kids in danger. Kids hang out at the mall. If they're not going to provide a safe space for Black kids to be at a mall, right, or at least support it, or at least come down on the side of, hey, police officer, we own the mall. You came into the mall on our behalf. We don't appreciate what you did because you messed up one of our customers, right? Or the way in which you did what happened, right? The way in which that, come on, man. That's just me. I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to give it to
Jonathan, if I can just interject.
Go ahead.
I think actually it takes, at some point in people's lives, they shouldn't need a boycott. They shouldn't need a ban. You should be able to look inside yourself and say, when is enough enough? Like, aren't you tired of going to this particular mall and being followed? Aren't you tired of the looks and the stares every time the kids have to play that town, in sports and different activity? Aren't you tired of it? So it comes a point in time where we have to start looking at ourselves in the mirror and stand up for ourselves and make our own decision of what we plan to do with our own economic dollar. We shouldn't have to call a boycott, actually. It should kind of be just a little bit of common sense. There's Macy's everywhere, right? There's Bloomingdale's, and all those stores are buy online, right? So that's what I say to that. That's what I say to that. I wouldn't need anyone to tell me to boycott a mall or any kind of store. I do that now. If I feel as though I'm not being treated right, I don't need nobody to tell me don't shop there. So it comes a time, just as a people, I don't care whatever race or ethnic you are, it comes a time where you need to just take pride in yourself and pride in your own value of your dollars and stand up for what you work hard for. There's certain gas stations I don't go to because I don't like the way they greet me. I have that right to do that. And that's what we need to start doing just as a people.
Well, James, let me run this by you, right? Because I actually absolutely disagree with the notion of not calling the boycott. The boycott is one of our most important weapons. One of our most important weapons, right? And legality, slavery was legal. I'm personally, I'm not really trying to hear that. What I'm concerned with, and I want everybody to appreciate where I'm going, is that we have several different streams of support trying to come out to support around this case. It's time to bring those forces together, right? These forces need to get on the same page. We all need to be able to. We need to have what's happening on the streets needs to line up what's happening in courts, right? We've got to bring those streams together. And some of the demands and what the family is asking for is modest, right? Let me tell y'all something. In the aftermath of George Floyd's killing, and we are grateful to the God of our ancestors, we're not talking about anything like that here, thank goodness, right? The state of New Jersey, who has a very popular liberal, governor in Phil Murphy, everybody kind of likes Phil, right? We got a Democratic Senate, a Democratic Assembly. We had 5 strong bills that would change police culture in this state and potentially around the country if they had half of the spine that they need to make them happen. You've heard in the protest calls for civilian complaint review boards. We have been trying to get strong, real civilian oversight in the police in this country, in New Jersey, for almost 60 years, almost as many years as I'm old. Right? But Here we have a real opportunity to do that. They did not do that. We have a bill to call for the banning of chokeholds, the criminalizing of chokeholds. What was done to George Floyd was criminal. They wouldn't pass that bill, wouldn't put it up for a vote. Right? We have a bill that makes police records when they get disciplined transparent. You can't hide that you crack somebody in the skull over here, rape somebody over here, and beat somebody up over here, and kill somebody up over here, and then go to another town and do the same thing. Wouldn't pass it, wouldn't put it up for a vote. And we're not talking about Donald Trump and his crazy cousins. We're talking about so-called Democrats right here in New Jersey. And that's why we have this statewide coalition pushing this particular state government to do what they said they were going to do some 2 years ago when we lost George Floyd. So I want y'all to appreciate that content. I want to see all those kids that are becoming seniors and getting ready to graduate from high school get registered to vote and to train up to replace some of these cowardice, these coward kind of personalities who will sing and dance for you to get your vote and then give you nothing for it in return. There's a young man that comes on our show regularly named Ryan Haygood from the New Jersey Institute of Social Justice who reminded Phil Murphy as soon as he got elected, Phil, we are the 94%. The 94% of the vote in this state that put you in office. And in the re-election, it was the 94% that saved him by just a little bit in office. So this is the context I want folks to appreciate as we move forward. Ed, you've been quiet now. You're the lawyer in the mix. I know you got it. I know you want to jump in here with some of this before we wrap.
Absolutely. I think two things, right? I mean, immediately, my mind goes to evidence. So when you all were talking about someone having said that he should pay for the damage that was done in the mall, one was that given to him in a written form where we can see that? And then two, was that also given to the other person?
As far as whether it was in writing, I don't have knowledge of that. I do know that Attorney Crump did make a statement and posted it on his social media that it was an official request. As far as if it's in writing and she's been sent an itemized bill, not as of yet.
That's very important, right? Because I think that when folk can see that, because as you know, these type of folk will say those things, and then when push comes to shove, they will have plausible deniability, say that was never said, that there was never a conversation about that. So that's one. I mean, obviously, if we could show that to Black folks in our community, because how our folks are, we want to see TI is, how is it? We want to see that for real, and then move people to action. That's one, and then two. The other did the other guy know the brother at all? Did he know him? Did they know each other?
I'm not. Who are you referring to?
I'm talking about the white kid. Did he know the brother?
I'm sorry. Too many people were.
Did the white kid know your cousin? Did he know him?
You mean my nephew? No, they didn't know each other.
They didn't know each other at all.
No, they go to two entirely different schools. My nephew and the kid he was defending are middle schoolers, and the boy was a high schooler.
And is this particular mall someplace that your nephew frequents on a regular?
Yes, most children of Somerset County go to this mall.
So most of young Black kids hang out in this mall.
All races. We live in Somerset County is diverse. It's not Black or white. You have Hispanics, Black, white, Middle Eastern.
All the malls. That's just the thing to do. It's just the kids hang out at the malls. It's been going on since I was a teenager.
Whenever I go down to Atlanta now, there's a new place that's opened up called the New Black Wall Street, and I'm very happy every time I go there. It's a mall setting. They have tons of bookstores. There are tons of great stuff. Stuff that I buy there, jewelry, all the other stuff, and it's a hangout spot, restaurants, etc. Right, and it's all Black owned, all Black shops. I think that one of the things that just has to happen just has to happen. Is we need more spaces like that in different parts of the country, right? The new Black Wall Street in Atlanta. There are some other places as well. I know we're getting ready to come to the end of this segment. I know that Baba, how I'm gonna give it to you in terms of what are the right questions to ask at the end. How do we close this up?
But muted. I'm sorry. You just came out of the meeting. What do folks need to know about the next points of action,
right,
in support of the family?
Well, there's there's gonna be a presser on Wednesday at 12 noon with the attorney Ben Crump, and Saturday I believe tentatively that Pop will be hosting a march through Bridgewater.
Okay.
But Baba, can I say something just before we I just want to piggyback on what the counselor he had raised some questions about the furniture and stuff. Two things I want to bring up. One thing was which a rarity. When you have two individuals involved in a fisticuff, the individual that Kai was engaging came out and made a statement, and it's in the paper that was straight racism on behalf of the Bridgewater police. The reason why I said it because he gestured with his wrist. He asked the white lady, "Am I being locked up here?" And she told him, "No, just have a seat. You didn't resist." If you look at the film, Kai never resists. Never resists. He cooperated. Okay, and then the second part was in regards to the furniture. I question the validity of broken furniture or a table because everything seemed intact. Only time if it may have, hypothetically speaking, may have gotten broken is when a cop dove on Kai.
How about that?
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
Right.
It's amazing how in America, the land of the free and the home of the ex-slaves, Black folks can look at an incident and see this, and white folks can look at the incident and see that.
Right.
I mean, the dichotomy is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the schizophrenia race in America. It's been an honor to have y'all on. I want y'all to know you got an open mic here. Your family has an open mic here. If Zakai wants, we get to the point where the lawyer feels like Zakai is all right and he wants to come on, he can certainly do that. We would love to have him and then some of his friends talk about what this has done to them and what they now have to do for themselves as a part of that rites of passage, that racial rites of passage that Black folks have been going through perennially since we got off these plantations back in 1865.
And I would even go even in the opposite direction. If he doesn't want to come on, like I think Black Boy Joy, we talked about that, needs to be a thing. I think that self-healing needs to be a thing. I think media. I think that there are certain pressures that come from media that 16-year-old, 15-year-olds shouldn't have to deal with.
14.
Right?
Yeah, 14.
Right. 14-year-olds shouldn't have to deal with. Like these are kids, right? Like these are that, and so I think that maybe all that to be taken into consideration as well in terms of there's just a different thing about media when it comes like this that may not all be, so protecting him at this point.
Yes.
I know that there are all kinds of factors that go into that as well. So open mic, you are here. We welcome you. We thank you for having you.
I'm glad he has the family that he has.
Right.
Having done this for decades, daughters, let me tell you, this kind of thing breaks and destroys families. I mean, when a family member is victimized by this violence from the state, that violence, talk about trauma, runs through the whole family. We're burying a mother tomorrow who lost a son to Bridgeton police. Right, and it ripped right through her system, right? And she's a valiant Black woman, right? Stood up for her son after he was wrongly killed by the police. But the trauma appears in the body. Right. It's real.
And yeah, so
I appreciate your strength and your grace.
And as we're leaving, we always ask this question. We always make sure that changing the subject, lighter mood. Your favorite hip hop artist, individual, group, or just one you're rocking with, one you just think is appropriate that you've been listening to recently?
You want to go first, Henri?
That's a difficult question.
That's easy for you. You're the youngest.
It's difficult. I love music of all types.
All right.
I would say to my core from when I was younger. This may not, everyone may not like this answer,
Your
but it's
core
the
is
one
your
I'm
core.
standing.
Your love is your
That's
love.
right, stand it. You said what you're about to say. What you said.
I will.
Stand in it.
I don't care. I don't care. I would say Eminem.
All right, you said what you said.
Yeah, from the lyrics to the pain, he is the example of his music speaks to some of the destructive thoughts and feelings that many of us feel and can't speak on, can't articulate. And the process from where he used to be when it comes to drugs to nowadays how it's totally flipped. It's a true reflection of a lot of us and what we've gone through, what they go through, especially people who are on the streets and stuff like that. I would say definitely him.
Okay. All right.
Auntie Lynn, what say you?
It has to be hip hop.
That doesn't have to be. This is a hip hop talk show. I'm a jazz poet,
Okay.
This is a hip hop talk show.
Okay. Well, right now I'm gonna say I'm rolling with Layla Hathaway. She's just touching my soul and soothing my spirit right now. She got that silky tone, that alto. That I'm gonna say Layla Hathaway. She's not too hip hop, but that's what it is
That's
tonight.
all right. That's what you rocking. That's all right.
That's what I'm repping right now. Thank you, guys.
All right, and James?
Well, Baba Zaid been knowing me for over 30 years. I roll with Pac.
Okay.
The most famous Cub of the Black Panther Party. I ain't bring that into the mix. That's where my roots lie. I have some very serious roots in the Black Panther Party. It's been a powerful segment. It's been an honor to have y'all. I don't know if I'll be able to see you Monday. I should be out there Wednesday. If something's happening Saturday, if this thing is happening on Saturday, you certainly see me on the streets. With the streets, we ride on the streets. Me and his brother Carrie, you couldn't have anybody better to trust for your family. All right.
We appreciate you.
Thank you. We appreciate you. And again, we want to have you back on to give us more updates and see what's going on. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. God bless.
God bless. Thank you. All right. That is another segment on All Politics Are Local, America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. We are getting ready to go to our next segment. We had some deep segments. We had, the Disciple Zone.
We definitely ain't got enough time to do these
history on, right? We had, we just had that segment about the young brother and what he went through. Very serious segment about what he went through in that Bridgewater Commons Mall, and the things that we have to deal with as Black people, in terms of how these interactions. But we are honored to have a group of creative men, comic books, talking about NFTs and Black nerds. And so tell me, what is this thing, right? Like, so we have two from PBS Media. PBS is media, a comic book artist and and comic book creators and just writers generally, like people in sporting, like Black intellectual Black kids who like science fiction and comic books and all that other stuff, and Black Comic-Con. So thank you both for being on, Naseed Gifted and Amika Chadu.
Got it. Yeah.
And thank you both for coming on and talk to us. Tell us about yourself and talk to us about, like, what is this with Black nerds and NFTs?
All right. So first of all, thank you for having us on the show. Kind of hard to kind of lean into the NFTs after listening to such powerful information with regards to what's going on politically. But just want to kind of bring it back and how we connect that to like generational wealth, right? So being able to develop generational wealth for our families. My name is Naseed Gifted. I'm the creative director of PBS Media. We are an entertainment studio where we produce graphic novels, animation, and we produce the New Jersey's only Black comic and animation film festival called KimFest. And with me is my partner.
He's one hell of an educator too. Go ahead.
Incredible educator.
As well as that, I'm an educator as well, who's been working with our youth for over 20 years, who transitioned into the field and fell in love with the kids and pretty much stayed. Along with me is my partner, and I let him introduce himself, Mr. Emeka Chedu.
Yeah, again, it's an honor to be here. Yeah, my name's Emeka Chedu. Yeah, I'm a Newark product. Literally attended NJIT, where I was able to wrap up the whole engineering thing. But you know, my heart is really for our community, and I've been partnered now for give or take like 20 years right now. PBS Media has evolved. It started off as a clothing line, and then literally evolved into a digital products that we're able to now provide to underserved communities. And we always ensure and make sure that we build in the importance of STEM and STEAM. And yeah, again, it's an honor.
So what are NFTs? What is it what is this Black Nerd thing coming up tomorrow? Like, because I saw a flyer, I saw Black Nerds, and I know, you know, I know one of the people involved, very creative, very talented, following his work for years, actually many years, right? Before I even knew he was an educator, right? Like, you know, been following his work with PBS Media. So what is this thing of Black Nerds and NFTs, and what's going on tomorrow?
So what I want to talk about real quick is you've been hearing this buzzword called NFTs and the new wave, right? And how we get a part, and how do people get a part of it? So tomorrow there's going to be what we call the Black Nerds Expo. It's an online Black comic event where they will have a number of presentations. And one of the presentations that we're going to be providing tomorrow is what are NFTs and how do I get my project on it, right? So NFTs, which is non-fungible tokens, that is something that has been it's been a whole lot of hype behind it. But we're going to talk about like what are NFTs and what if NFTs are not, right? A lot of people think like why are there such a big craze over JPEGs or these video streams and everything like that? And what I want to kind of do is show that there are entry points for our people to be able to get in on this, but also give them a clear definition of what to look for and what's the outcomes and the future of NFTs. And I'm gonna have my fellow partner who's an expert to kind of go a little deeper into that. Go ahead, Mr. Chedu.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider myself an expert, man. Always a student. Yeah, thank you for that, Nas. So NFTs, non-fungible tokens. I'm going to do my best just to try to give some examples. NFTs is anything digital that has intellectual property tied to it, and essentially it's tied to this technology called the blockchain. What's the blockchain? The blockchain is it's technology that provides security, uniqueness, traceability for anything that you put on it. So if you bring the two together, the actual digital asset, in this case, it might be a JPEG, it might be music, it might be something that you know you may have put together. You know, right now we do a lot of streaming on YouTube, and you know we're content creating, and we have to understand that content is the new currency, And what NFTs is, it's a vehicle now for you to be able to benefit and participate from being able to create digital assets and content. So the technology, what it does is it connects your digital asset. We'll just use a piece of art, and that piece of art connects to the blockchain through what they call a smart contract. And all a smart contract is it's automation. You write a nice bundle of code. That code will then be married to the JPEG, and what the automation does is that JPEG now rests on the blockchain forever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's immutable, and it provides what's called a royalty, and that royalty essentially can be tied to the owner of that NFT.
Yeah.
All right.
So-
So
Okay.
I got some questions, but I want to bring in DJ Rhino here as well. When you're talking, the way in which you talk about this blockchain, because I'm like, it's on the blockchain and it'll last forever. And I'm just like, you know, I have heard about hip hop artists like
Mm-hmm.
this is being important to hip hop in terms of sneakers,
Yep.
and in terms of albums and art, right?
So-
So I've been hearing about this, and I still don't understand it, but I've been hearing about this about like creatives, but people who are buying sneakers, somehow NFTs or blockchains rather, like that's really important. I'm not sure what I'm talking about, but
yeah. So just to bring it to the hip hop realm and everything, you know, one of the things in hip hop, you know, when people would do deals, right, and they have to sign these contracts, we talk about, you know, like how you own your masters, right? So what the NFT is, it's like owning your masters. But the thing that's different with the NFTs and with the blockchain and what smart contracts allow you to do is you take out the middleman. You don't need the distribution company in order to be able to have your ownership. That's one thing. You know, and then also anytime that someone else tries to, if we talk about, remember back in the day when they used to bootleg CDs, or, you know, people used to pirate or download free music and everything.
Okay, now you say back in the day when people used. Now you know me and you did that, right?
I know that.
Right.
But I'm just saying. but nowadays, the blockchain is this ledger. So this ledger tracks ownership. You know, so being able to track the ownership, you know, you can always get royalties based off of that. So being able to decentralize the distribution and the gatekeepers, that's why it's so important that, you know, when you talk about, you know, like owning your IPs, so owning your intellectual properties, that's how we kind of like bring it back, you know, with the NFTs. So that is something that is essential to, you know, developing, you know, wealth. You know, there's a number of, especially being that this is a hip hop, you know, political show, that we some of our favorite artists are nowadays broke because they didn't own their masters and they only got paid for a $10 album. They were only getting pennies on a dollar for that. You know, so now with this whole NFTs and the whole smart contracts and everything, they will always have ownership of that, unless of course they give it away. You know, sell their ownership, but also be able to receive royalties on that, you know, regardless of how many times it's sold.
And so tomorrow's Expo is really about how to get information on that so that you can participate in the ownership of your own. And by intellectual property is just something that you created, right?
Yep, that is
something
correct.
That you
that
uniquely
is correct.
created.
Yep.
Okay.
That is correct.
And what time is it? Is it online? Is it like how would I go? How
would folks get to it? Yeah.
So this is actually online. It's going to be 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so that's going to be 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it is going to be streamed through Twitch. But if you go to blacknerdsexpo.com, you'll be able to get all of the info with regards to the actual segment. We're doing a presentation as one segment of the actual con or expo. But there's a ton of things that's going to be going on throughout the day. There are going to be a number of Black creators and presentations, cosplay. All of those things are happening at the expo.
All right, and this is the website for it.
Yes, that's correct. That's the website.
Almost here, counting down, and I'm glad that you hipped us to this and let us know what's going on. DJ Rhino, what do you think about this stuff?
You muted, Rhino.
That's what's up. I definitely have seen, like Wu-Tang and Snoop Dogg and even some old school pioneers, like get into the whole NFT thing. You know what I'm saying? I've seen that. And I'm still trying to learn and understand myself. So I'm definitely, I got a lot to learn. But I wanted to ask y'all, do you guys see or have y'all come across like situations where, and this could just be my own personal taste, where you see like maybe some people are still a little bit reluctant about this whole NFT world, and so what they're doing is they're putting out like little cheap little things that they may have laying around. They're just putting that out as NFTs, and I'm talking about like celebrities, just putting out little stuff as NFTs just to see what happens, just to see what works.
Just to test the water.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Because I see certain things, I'm like, I don't know, that doesn't look like something I would want, but it also looks like something that they're trying to put out there just to test the waters with their real hardcore fans that would get anything that they put out there. Just to see how it works. Have you seen that?
So I'm gonna let Emeka speak heavily on that because we were just having a conversation on it. But a lot of it becomes this whole cash grab thing, right? So leveraging, your fan base and being able to do some things. But Emeka, tell them about the whole baseball cards and everything else, with regards to that.
Right, the baseball card thing, right?
Yeah, because so just to kind of bring it back full circle, right?
Mm-hmm.
We talked about IP. We talked about basically owning your name. So whoever the artist is, Snoop Dogg, for example, he made an initial investment of like 13 million. And right now, Snoop Dogg is in what they call the metaverse. Mm-hmm. He has hundreds of NFTs that are circulating through different marketplaces. And from the last talk that I had, he's already 5x his initial investment. So people get to participate with Snoop Dogg now owning that NFT, right? It's unique. If you have a certain type of Snoop Dogg NFT, you'll have maybe 3 to 5 to 10, depending on the rarity of the NFT, you'll have people always trying to bid and try to get that same piece of ownership. When you have all that demand coming in, that's what we're talking about. So think about baseball cards. So I grew up collecting sports cards, NBA, basketball cards. So this is like early 90s, comic books, the whole deal. I used to go right on Broad Street and grab them. I was paying $1 for those things. Baseball cards, I was paying maybe, $1 a pack. Basketball cards, 75 cents a pack. Today, some of those same cards have appraised for hundreds of dollars, some even thousands of dollars. Just do a Google search. Google search Giannis Antetokounmpo. Go research some of the top NBA players right now and look up $1 million cards. Luka Doncic, his cards sold for $4+ million.
Wow.
Giannis, I believe it was like 1.6. And these are very scarce cards. So this is about supply and demand. It's about scarcity, and it's about a community that really wants those particular assets. So NFTs just really are no different. The communities that these big influencers bring, you're able to mirror that at times, even with whatever value it is that you bring to your particular community. And so you have a lot of that right now. So I'm hoping I'm hitting your question specifically around how baseball cards now, which are physical, those are fungible tokens, and all it is now is the same game, but now it's digital.
Like comic books, really, right?
Mm-hmm. Say that one more time. Sorry.
I said like comic books, really. Hey,
Yeah.
Rhino. So, what is did that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, there's a lot more I got to learn about it, but definitely, because that's what I've seen. It's almost like they're almost like baseball cards, but they're with like the celebrities on them. You know what I mean? And people are selling. They're putting them out as NFTs now.
Yeah. So massive communities around it. Communities around it. We're talking about thousands of people globally, right? Because think about it, the blockchain now can bring everybody together now. So it's not just our market in the US. We're talking China. I'm on a social app called Clubhouse. It's a voice app. And 24/7, round the clock, we're talking about NFTs. Those communities are communicating to each other. We're talking to people from India, Asia, and we're all talking about these NFTs, and that excitement just continues on and on with a lot of these particular NFT brands. So
and the cards and going back to the cards, these are digital, the cards.
Yeah. So you have what they call NBA Top Shots. Have you heard of that?
No.
All right. So that's the NBA licensed version, right? The NBA's IP of the NFT.
Okay.
So now there was a release, I want to say August of 2020, September. And you could buy those NFTs at that time, maybe around $5 to $8, like a pack of them. And these are digital videos, so short little clips, just like you would on YouTube. Some of those same digital clips at the peak of the market had climbed up to like $30,000-$40,000, and all of this is traceable on the actual blockchain.
So in other words, you don't have to. So really, all of this is you don't have to worry about somebody just copying your stuff because it's digital.
Correct.
The NFT and blockchain is you can just track it. That's why it becomes a collectible. That's why it can be bought, sold, and traded. And it has the same value as an actual baseball card, right? So you have a baseball card or a basketball card that's physical. And really, what is it? Or a comic book, right? What is it? They're just physical things that have value that people want over time.
Yes.
You're just saying NFTs allow you to have that same thing, but digital. So you don't have to worry about someone copying it because an NFT is uncopyable.
Right.
It can never be copied. And
Correct.
it's also the ownership is traceable and verifiable forever.
Yep,
Correct.
it's the authenticity of it, to be able to make it public for everyone to see it on a particular ledger. That's what the blockchain has allowed people to be able to do. And then also, as when we talk about ownership, being able to have that level of ownership, because now you create your own distribution markets because it's on the blockchain. You don't have to have an agent or that middle person to you still may use them for the marketing aspect of it. But as far as your ownership, you would own your NFT straight outright, and don't need anyone else or, an agent or any other middle individual. And that's what the whole thing with the blockchain, as far as decentralized, that's one of the big buzzwords that you hear about, decentralized with cryptocurrency, not having to, just get into the politics of the whole thing when we talk about the Homestead Act. And mortgages and redlining and everything, and how people put barriers up so individuals that look like us couldn't go into certain neighborhoods. With the blockchain, that is, as long as you have the money or the cryptocurrency to be able to enter the market, you don't have to worry about those things.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. You're welcome to stay for this next part where we talk about where DJ Rhino is the state of hip hop and has that conversation. I'm just going to put on this one more time and DJ Rhino is going to ask you a question. Like Black Nerds Expo tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And there are tons of different things and presentation and guests to register for. So, DJ Rhino, you got that last question before we segue into your section?
Yeah, I just want to ask you, brothers, man. In hip hop, who would you say influences you the most in what it is that you do? Who do you say influences you the most in hip hop?
Man, personally, for me, it's always been Pac, man. You know, from an emotional connection, to being able to, you know, see the world in a certain way, to, you know, being able to, you know, self-empower, you know, myself, man. So, you know, I really connected with, you know, songs like Change and, oh man, you know, he's legendary, man.
Yeah, Pac was a passionate dude.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, for me, it's a couple of different levels. You know, from a lyrical standpoint, I mess with Talib Kweli,
yes.
You know, Jay-Z. But from a business standpoint, you know, I look at Jay-Z, Nas, you know, some of the stuff that they're doing, you know, on a high level. And then I got my younger generation individuals that I'm just now getting into, like Anderson .Paak, Thunder, you know, on the Afrofuturism tip, Flying Lotus, you know, those individuals, Janelle Monáe.
Yeah.
But just for individuals, you know, for different things, like I said, it depends on what mood I'm in. If I'm thinking about business, I'm thinking Jay-Z and Nas. If I'm thinking about lyrics and beats and production. Oh, and I forgot about RZA. RZA is one of the masterminds in this Afrofuturism space, as well as in the hip hop spectrum. So, you know, RZA has been doing a ton of projects, you know, in both realms.
Right. Definitely. Well, you definitely touched on some vibrations, man. You said Janelle Monáe and Anderson .Paak, and yeah, you know, I definitely mess with them too. So
That's
yeah,
right.
that's what's up, man. That's what's up.
Hey,
so
man.
Big ups to both of y'all, man. Much love to y'all.
Nah, man. Thank you for having us on the show, man. Definitely appreciate it, and
really appreciate you.
No, definitely appreciate you back. Sorry for the mix-up earlier. I see you're in the old WRNU studio.
Yeah.
Right?
We had the broadcast from where you guys are supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, it familiar. I was like,
That looks familiar. Right. So my bad for that.
That's the irony of the whole thing.
Right. So DJ, man, what's the state of hip hop? And by the way, and Naseed and Amika, you're welcome to stay. What's the state of hip hop, my brother?
Well, I mean, we only got a couple. I mean, we passed time, so I'm just going to
drop in real quick. Right.
Yeah, I'm just going to drop in real quick. You know, since we were talking about Snoop, you know, I know we talked about Snoop last week about how he's the owner of Death Row Records now. He just put out an album and like a mini video, like a mini movie to go along with the album. It's called Back on Death Row. So it's BODR, Back on Death Row. You can check it on YouTube. The visuals are on YouTube. You can check out the album. It's out there now. But you know, and he starts it off with old school Snoop. I mean, Snoop from when him and Dre first got together. You know what I mean? And he just takes you through a whole journey, you know, of you know, his experiences in the industry, in the game, and at Death Row and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Up to where he's at now, being the owner of the company. You know what I'm saying? So definitely check out Snoop Dogg. He's doing big things, man. Snoop Dogg is crazy. Snoop Dogg's gonna be like an LL Cool J type. Where he's been around for like ages and ages and decades, just taking it to other levels, man. You know. But so big up to Snoop Dogg. Also, I want to say this man right here, KRS-One, he's got a new album out, and it's 7 letters and 2 numbers. IMAMCRU 12. That's the name of the album. IMAMCRU 12. That's the name of the album. It's KRS-One's classic KRS-One. You know, getting into all of the things he likes to get into lyrically, politically, you know, in the streets, hip hop, and all of that, man. He represents hip hop, and he's definitely coming strong with this one. There's a song that he did on the verses when he did verses with Big Daddy Kane called Knock 'Em Out with Slick Rick on the hook. That song is on the album. I was happy to hear that because that's like my favorite joint right now. But it's called IMAMCRU12. It's 7 letters and 2 numbers. So
Nice.
check it out, man. That's KRS-One.
That's that comedic memory coming through.
Yeah, and he's back. He's in his KRS-One bag right now. So definitely check it out. Don't sleep on this one. You know, it's a good listen. But that's all I got right now. And also, speaking of KRS-One, today is also Boogie Down Productions anniversary to the album Sex and Violence, which came out today back in 1992. 1992, Sex and Violence.
30 years.
Productions, yeah.
30 years.
Yeah, that KRS is another one, man. Legend, long time legend.
Yeah.
So big ups to KRS. That's all I got, man. And tomorrow, Twitch.tv/Rhino CMZ, we are doing a special raid on Twitch. It's going to be for the, because we're at the end now of Black History Month. We're doing a special raid. And it's also in commemoration to the National Black Political Convention that's coming up this year in August. So,
nice.
And we're trying to draw people to the website so they can donate and do what they got to do on the website, so that they can participate in what's coming up this year. So, we're doing a big thing tomorrow. Definitely check me out tomorrow because I'm going in. It's not just hip hop. It's, I got some hip hop in there, but I'm going all over the place because I'm representing for the National Black Political Conference.
And that's 50 years of history. That's a lot. That's a lot to cover.
It's Syed. I'm gonna resend you that and the M2 tribute that I did too to you.
Yeah. I'm on an old
I want you to
computer.
check that, man. You gotta hear that stuff, man. That stuff I definitely want you to hear.
I know that's right. All right.
Yeah. But definitely again tomorrow, Twitch.tv/Rhino CMZ at 3 p.m. And actually the whole raid starts at 12 noon. Because it's not just me, it's going to be all my brothers, all of my DJ brothers. So it starts at 12 noon. Just go to Twitch.tv and you'll see what's going on. And I will definitely post up the flyer. I'll continue to post up the flyer and all that information.
All right.
Oh, cool. Yeah, definitely send that to us. All right. Well, this has been another. I know there's been another week. We're getting ready to sign off. We went way over time. I know we got backed up. I think we booked too many people together, and so it kept bleeding over. But it was a good night. I want to thank all of our guests. We want to thank the disciples for coming on and doing what they always do so well. We want to thank Sharpe James for coming on and having a real.
Definitely, that was a surprise. I didn't even know he was coming on tonight.
Yeah, it was great, man. It was great. Like it was a lot.
I didn't know Naseed was coming on. I definitely blasted that out different. Yeah.
Oh, right. And Naseed gifted coming on tonight too. So. Thanks everyone for coming out. Thanks everyone for being on the show. Thanks for the relatives of that young man in Bridgewater.
The guy who's saying.
Yep. And I'm real glad that they came on the show. I'm glad that we good get Zaid. I appreciate that a lot. Because that was important, man. All right, so another week. Be safe. End of Black History Month. Women's History Month.
Right on.
So we will have some programming and absolutely be safe, be careful, be good.
And you don't stop.
Peace.
All right.